7. My name is Henda Raizel Stern, born Simsovic in Bedevla, November 15, 1926. Czechoslovakia, now it's Ukraine. Okay. My father's name was Sruljanka Simsovic. My mother's name was Henda born Einhorn in Hostelnese, which is Romania. I had a very good childhood. What I remember, we were very happy, and my father was a businessman, and he was considered those years a rich man. And we had a steady mate when we was little. I had a sister, Suri, which I called the Tuya, because I wasn't able to say as a child, I wasn't able to say Suri, so this remained till the end. I called her like this. So till we was little kids, young children, we had a steady mate, a Jewish girl. Her name was Machla. I still remember her very good. Then when we got older, so already my mother just had a woman who came in. This was a gentlewoman who came in every week to clean the house. My father's parents lived also in Bedevla, and it was a very close family. My father had 7 siblings. The name was the oldest was Matel. My father was the second. Then was Yitzchok and Rochel. She was married in Borsche, Romania. Then was Freide. She was married to Ornstein in Tjačevo. And then was a sister. I forget names. Cypra. She was married to Meyer Maggid, a very religious, he was dying, a very religious man, a very educated man. He lived with my grandfather in the house together. They had also, I don't remember exactly how many children they had about also 6 or 7 children. And the youngest daughter, the youngest sister, my father's, was Ethel. She lived in Felshevishova, which was Romania. She married to a very rich man. They didn't have children. This was the problem. But then, every Friday night, in the winter time, every Friday night we ate at home, supper, and then we went to my grandfather. The whole family came together. My grandmother prepared kegel with beans, those big beans, how you call them, Zocherbundlach. So we were sitting there, and they were benching, and then we went home. This went on very nicely till 1938, till the war broke out. When the war broke out in 1938.
Before we start with the war, you said your father was a businessman. What did he do?
My father was a businessman. He had with fruits, and wholesale with fruits. He was traveling a lot, and we had a lot of property ourselves. We had orchards with apples, plums, cherries, all kind of fruit. And we had a gentle person, a guy who lived on the orchard, who watched and took care of this. My mother was a housewife. She didn't do nothing. We had a big house. Considered that time it was a big house. We had 3 rooms and a kitchen and a built-in sukkah. And we had a little garden in back of the house, which we grew our own vegetables, little things, vegetables, because we had big properties also. But with Goyim, they were planting all kind of potatoes and corn and all kind of things. We had for us, and we had also to sell, and we gave a lot of stucco, a lot of poor people away. In 1938...
And also, just your town, do you know how many people?
In the town lived 120 Jewish families. And in the town was about 1,200 goy, Ukraine.
How many shuls were in the town?
One shul, one big shul was in the town. My grandfather was Rosh Hakur all the years.
Your father's father.
My father's father. And there was, the Uren Kodesh was in the shul, so on one side, when I was standing across the Uren Kodesh, one side, the side I was sitting, my father's father, and other side, my father was sitting. So upstairs, the women's section, the same thing. My grandmother was on one side, and my mother was on the other side. So the grandfather was Rosh Hakur all the years in Bedevla.
And your mother's parents?
My mother's parents lived in Hosomaz, Romania. My grandfather came from Ganich. He was a very old-fashioned man. I always say that, even I say this always to Zaidi. He was a very old-fashioned man. My grandmother came from a very aristocratic family. And she was, in those days, people didn't go to school, they didn't send children to school, but my mother went to school and she had education, whatever it was in those years. They got married after my father was in World War I, he was captured from the Russians. Right away after the war started, that time was Austro-Hungarian.
What does that mean?
That means it was the Hungarian, Franz Josef.
Oh, Austro-Hungary.
Austro-Hungary,
Right.
Franz Josef was the
Franz
king.
Joseph.
Yeah. So he was captured from the Russians right beginning of the war. And he was in Kiev for 4 years. But he
4 years?
4 years in Kiev he was captured, but they picked him, he was a butler but a rich man there in Kiev, so he had it good, he didn't have it bad. And soon he came back from Russia already, they was talking already about a shidduch before he came home. My grandmother was very against it because her husband was my grandfather, the Zaide in Hosomeze, he was from Ganich, and I'm telling you, a very old-fashioned man, and they said, Rika, they called it the Rika, because there was a river, Rika, so they called it from the Rika. So my grandmother was very against that shidduch, because she said, I have enough a man for Rika, I don't want a son-in-law from there too. But my mother once, she said, she went, it was the summer, when my father came home already, she went to a cousin. So they had a big farm, a Tonya. They was called a Tonya in some place in Slovakia. And she went there for the summer, just for a vacation. And she met my husband in Tjacho. And I don't know, somehow they must have known each other already. She turned back and she came back and she said, I don't want nobody else, I want through. And this is how the shidduch got. My mother always told us this. I mean, they were very happy and my father was a very nice person and my mother too. Very religious, but not fanatish religious, My father, he was 4 years in Kiev, so he got a little liberal. Like for instance, in those years they didn't let the daughters wear short sleeves or go with short socks. We were allowed to do that. My father allowed us to do that. To talk to a boy also, we were allowed to. So he was very religious. I was brought up in a very strict religious home, but a little modern.
And the whole time it was Hasidim?
The whole time was Hasidim. My father was a stramel and a kaftan, and my mother didn't have a hair on her head, shaved completely, wear a nice sheitel all the time. And this went on like this till 1938.
All right, a few more questions before. Who was the rabbi in the town?
There was no rabbi in our town. My father was a Vishnitzer Chassid. He learned by the Vishnitzer Rebbe by Mendelin. This was the old Vishnitzer Rebbe's son, the oldest son. He learned by him. My father has smicha. Had smicha. I mean, smicha.
Where was that? Where did he learn with him?
In the Vishevas.
In where?
The Vishevas.
Where is that?
There's Romania. It's not far. That thing. It's not far one from another place. So, what else I wanted to say? What else you asked me?
Well, I didn't, but I just want to make sure you said your mother's parents' names. I don't know if you said them.
Einhorn. My mother's parents' name was Einhorn.
First and
my
grandfather's name was?
Grandfather's name was Velvel Einhorn.
And your grandmother?
And my grandmother's name was Miriam Einhorn, born Goldberg.
And you...
And she came from a very nice family, very nice, she had sisters and brothers, which they were very, different, not fanatic people, very religious, but not fanatic, like my grandfather was.
What is fanatic?
I don't know how to explain it. As a fanatic, very, very old-fashioned.
Okay.
Very old-fashioned.
And you grew up with your...
I grew up
with your father's family in the town. So
I grew up with my father's family in the town, which one brother and two sisters lived.
And so, how often did you see your grandparents from your mother's side?
We went often. When it was Romania, we didn't go to so often. Then it turned also the Hungarians. I'll come to it. When the Hungarians occupied that part of Romania, Transylvania, so we went very often. The train went 5 minutes away.
Right.
We went to the grandparents. I like to go there. It was like a holiday, when I went, because I lived with the other grandparents all the time. I saw them every day. My grandfather used to come every day. He liked very much my mother. He came, my father was the oldest son. And my father was very, learning in Yiddish and not in Yiddish and everything, very educated. He didn't go to school. I mean, he went to elementary probably, but he didn't have schooling, but he was a very smart man. My grandfather said my father is his eye in the head. He came every day. I see him now walking with a cane. They lived up the hill a little bit, came down to us for an hour or two, sitting and talking to my mother and to the children, to us, to me and my sister, and then they called. My grandmother didn't come so often. She came also, but not so often like my grandmother. Because my father was always away. He was every day, he was someplace else. He was traveling a lot, also abroad. And what else, till 1938. I had a nice childhood, but I didn't have like a teenage years already was horrible. Because I was 12 years old in 1938, right?
Okay, just a few more questions before we get to 1938. Your school, where did you go to school? What kind of school did you have?
Now I went to school. I went to school, to elementary school in Bedevla. I was 5 years. And then I went away to Tjachov. And it was considered it's like a high school. It was a mieszczańska szkoła, they called it.
So elementary school for 5 years. What age did you start to go?
I started to go when I was 5 years in November, and 6 years in November, and I started in September school. I started before the first grade, because I was always running after my sister to school. Like your mother was running always school with the kids. She saw they going to school, she wanted to go to school.
And what kind of, the elementary school, what kind of school is it? So, just secular school?
What?
It was secular. They didn't teach you any Yiddishkeit there?
No, but I went, I had a private man. My father paid for a man who taught us to write Hebrew, Yiddish, and to read. Then we were little kids yet, because when I was already a teenager, I went with my mother to shul, and I knew how to daven and everything. That's why I know today.
Did you ever learn like Chumash or anything?
No.
You were never taught?
No, No, I went a little bit to Abasyanka school too, because it came a girl from Chernobyl. It was a cousin to the Shoichet, and she made like a Sunday school, Basyanka, after school, and this was also the early time. Then I went to the high school, but I didn't finish it, because I was 2 years, the third year I didn't finish already, because the war started already. The Czechs was running away, was no school. So what happened? I graduated school, I finished school because I went to Ukrainian school for a while, and then I went to Hungarian school for a while. Till I was
In 1938, you went to a Hungarian school.
First to Ukraine.
In 38.
In 38.
So in 1938, and so start from there.
In 1938, the Czechs were running away, and there was a group, Sichaks, they called them Sichovics. They were Ukrainian people, they were very anti-Semitic, very against the Jews. And they weren't, it was luckily they won a long time because the Hungarians came in.
So just
about maybe a year.
Politically, what do you remember? What date in 1938? What month?
I don't remember the dates.
But
I don't remember the dates.
What happened that things changed?
I mean, in 1938 happened, the war broke out, and they called, that was everybody was soldiers, they called them in, everybody, there was no age, no everybody.
But there were no Germans in your
No
time.
Germans yet, there was the Czechs. Then the Germans occupied Czechia at that time. It didn't last for long, you know, I don't remember dates, how old was I? I was 12 years old, I remember dates, I don't. I remember later maybe. So in 1939, the Hungarians came in. The Germans occupied Czechia, the Sudet, the Czechia, and to us, Carpathia, the Hungarians occupied. So I remember we were standing one Shabbos, it was not Shabbos, we were standing at the streets, the Hungarian military came, you know, they came with cars, so they were on horses, riding on horses. They had tanks, they had those things. So we were standing and we were so happy to see them, because with the Ukrainians, they would have killed all the Jews that time.
Well, when the Ukrainians were there, did you witness anything? Did anything?
Yes,
what were they doing?
I slept it over, but one night they came into our house, the Ukrainians, and it was people from our town, but they knew my father. They came in and they said, you know, you have pistols in the house, you have weapons in the house, and we wanted, you should give it to us. Because my father, you know, he was, I'm telling you, a businessman, he bought a lot of those apples, and he had people who watched it during the night because they were stealing, so he gave them guns. But we didn't have nothing in the house, those guns were gone a long time, I don't know where they went. So they came and they said, we know you have guns and we want it. And they came with a pistol, talked to my father's house like this, and it was people from our town. But they left, they didn't do nothing.
And what was it? Were there any problems in the streets at that time?
No, the streets were no problems. But you know, there was everybody, they had a blacklist how to kill the Jews. They found it later. How they gonna kill all the Jews?
The Ukrainians.
The Ukrainians. It wasn't the real Ukrainians what they now. This was some Sichovics, they called themselves. So one Friday they were running away already. The Hungarians started coming. So it was in our house, my cousins. They had, you know, they were soldiers and they had guns. So they were shooting.
Your cousins were soldiers?
Yeah.
In which army?
In the Czech army.
Okay.
So they was.
Then they were fighting the Germans at that time.
No, this wasn't the Germans. This was
What?
the Ukrainians.
Okay.
The Sichovics. They were fighting. They had guns. There was a neighbor, also a boy. He was a soldier and a cousin of mine, and they were shooting to our town. And they were. I remember when we had the kitchen. In the back of the kitchen was a little window. So through the window they were standing with not a gun. It was not a machine gun. It was, you know,
A rifle?
a rifle. And they were shooting back. All right. right, and then they went away, the Hungarians came, so we were standing and were very happy that they coming. So there was a Yiddish soldier, he was on a horse riding, so he said in Yiddish, he said, jeden Freitag, ich gehe zur Heimschule messen, steht Schulentessen, it was Shabbos, der Freitag gar nicht, und ich kann, you know, they were very big anti-Semitic, the Hungarians.
Well,
right?
translate what you just said.
What?
Can you translate what you just said? You just spoke in Yiddish. What did he say?
Go home and eat Schulend, he said. Don't stay here and don't be so happy that we're coming. There were still Jewish soldiers that time. Right away the Hungarians came in, they stopped the Schritte. They didn't allow the Schritte. This was the first thing. And then maybe it was past a year, they took away all the Jewish business. You weren't allowed, a Jew wasn't allowed to have a business, you had to take in a goy. Or as a partner, or a guy took it over.
So
The Jews were not allowed to work on their own fields, on their own, you know, you have to have a partner, a guy.
So when they
It
stopped
was
the,
very anti-Semitic, a lot of things what they did. But we still lived, you know, life went on. It wasn't so bad yet.
when they stopped the shechita, so you had no meat for the entire
The shechita
time,
not on poultry. They stopped the shechita
on livestock like cows and.
on cows and things like that.
But you still had chicken.
Not chicken you were allowed to kill. Because they said that it was animals, you know, like they say today, it's killing animals. The shechita,
Right.
they suffer, the animals suffer when you, and it's true, they really, they kill them with a knife just like this. So, okay. Then it started getting more anti-Semitic. In 1940, the Hungarians went through the border, they occupied Transylvania, Romania. There where my grandparents lived. So we were able to go to my grandparents more often. We didn't need a passport, you know, it was fine.
What did you witness anything? Did things happen to people? Did you, or it
No,
was
I
just
witnessed just in 1941, there was a law that all the Polish people who didn't, you know, because in Carpathia lived a lot of Polish people too. So they came in 1941, this was the law, but you know, every time they did their own law. So, for example, by us, they took a lot of Jews people, young people, and also a lot of Jewish people, they took that time away, and they came to us also, they took voice my father. And then this was on a Shabbos
this is what year?
in 1941.
And this the Hungarians took your father?
The Hungarians.
What
yeah.
do you remember? What month or what time of year?
I'm thinking now what time of the year. It was the summertime, it wasn't the winter, so I don't know, springtime, or I don't remember exactly. Then an hour later they came for us also. They took us also. They took us, and they took all the people to the nearby town. It was also a bigger town, Teresva, that
Well-
they put them on trains. So we slept there. This was Shabbos night. We slept outside for the train station, and early in the morning it was daybreak. They coming over. This was the Hungarian. It's not the police, gendarme they call them. I don't know what it is exactly to tell you. It's like, because it was by a border, so it was more like
A border police?
border police.
Well, when they took you, did they tell you what they were
They
doing?
didn't
What
say nothing.
They just came
They didn't
and
say nothing, but it wasn't the law to take us. We weren't from Poland. So early Sunday they took my father's one sister, the oldest child, my grandfather's child. They took her with the family, but two boys, one was in. They were away, they weren't home, they were in Munkosazot, you know, because later they didn't took Jews in the military. They took them in the military, but not with guns or rifles, you know, not with ammunition, just for work. My father was also there for a while, and then when he was, after 40, they released those people after 40. After 40 years old. So we were sleeping by the train station, sleeping on the floor, laying on the floor. I don't even know where it was, how we were. It was but daybreak, they came over the police and they said you could go home, to us and to my grandfather.
And your father?
You know, the whole family, my grandfather and the grandmother and us, my father and my mother and me and my sister. All right, we went back home. They took those Jews to Poland, to Kamensk-Podolsk was the name. And there was a river, the Dniester. The most of the people they shot and they threw in the Dniester.
How do you know that?
Because there were people who were in that, what I'm saying, in that military, not in the, with the munition just for war, they saw it. And a lot of, there was a few people were running away and they came back home.
Do you know how many they killed?
I don't know. Couldn't remember. It was a lot of families they took away. You know, I don't remember already even a lot of families from our town.
And so that's 1941.
This was in 1941.
And you knew that they had taken people away and shot them.
Nobody survived. A few people came back. There was one woman with her daughter came back. She was a widow. They took her with her daughter. And she came back, and then another, a cousin of ours, it was like a third cousin maybe she was, a single girl. They took away her whole family. She didn't have parents already, but she had a sister, she was married, and she didn't come back. And other two girls, also two sisters, came back. Also they made for them trouble, they were hiding for a while, and one of them, the cousin ours, what I'm telling you, they took her away to Budapest, they put her in, they sent her to Auschwitz yet in 1942. Auschwitz was, nobody knew about it. We sent her away. It happened that we met her in Auschwitz once, this comes later. So still life went on, it was already a miserable life, but still, you know, we lived, we still.
Was there any thought to go anywhere, or?
No, who would have go? I just say a lot of things, a lot of times that people from Poland, they came to yeshivas, they took them to Japan in 1939 or something. I say if they would come in to my father and tell him, you know, you could go to Japan to survive, he would not go. He would not go. All right, the life went on. It was already a very bad life, but it went on till.
Well, when you say a bad life, well.
I mean, we left, but they took away all the Jewish property. They took away everything from us. But we had money, you know. My father still made with the goyim in the town. You know, there were honest people who he lent them money. They gave us back. They came the last minute when they took us in 1944. I never forget that. One guy came in. He owed my father money. He brought the money to the house. He said, "I owe you this and this money. Here it is. Maybe you'll need it." There wasn't too many people like this.
But going back to 1942, your father still had his orchards, or that was taken away from him?
My father still had this orchard, but it was like it with a guy or something. I don't know, with a gentler. I really don't remember. I don't remember exactly everything. I remember a lot of things, but I don't remember everything. Been home already. So for 1941, we still, they didn't, my mother's family, they didn't take nobody. They lived there, we still went there, we still went to see them, they came to us, everything. It went on till 1944. Before Purim it was. Okay, my grandfather got very sick.
Your father's father?
My father's father. He got very sick. And you know, those days were different. We didn't even know what the sickness was. He was in hospital, and he went to a lot of doctors. And I mean, money was no problem. And he had the daughter who didn't have children, who lived in what I thought. She married very rich. She came and she was sitting with the side, and there was the other daughter, lived there. But her husband was also in the Munkaszázat, military without munition, working military. So she came and she was sitting also with the grandfather. My father lived in the town, he was there every day, he slept there nights with the grandfather when he was already very sick.
How old was your grandfather?
He wasn't 70. He wasn't 70 yet, I know for sure. Not the grandmother, not the grandfather. So this was, he passed away 4 weeks before Purim. I remember it was a Friday funeral. I don't know how, and I don't know how they notified the people. One of the daughters was in Budapest with her husband. One lived in Borsa, which was Romania. One, the rest was more around, all around. How they notified them? There was no telephone. There was, so they sent people to tell them. Friday morning, everybody was there. All the children were there Friday morning. And I remember seeing my grandfather dead when because they did everything in the house by mine, in his house, everything. I remember him dead laying on the table. I never forget that. That picture stays before my eyes with the long beard. So he passed away, and it was, it was the Schleusche. The children, everybody was sitting shiva together, we were there, helped out, to cook, to prepare food for everybody, because all the children were sitting. And so it was that year, before Pesach, it was, after Purim, we heard the news that the Germans came into Budapest, and they occupied the radio station, they took over, and there was a group, they called themselves Niloshes. They took over it was a president, I don't know what was that, it was a king either, like a president, Horthy Miklos. They took him off in the position, the Niloshes took over, and then the Germans came in, and it started the big trouble in Budapest. We were baking matzahs. We didn't already, every year the town was baking matzahs, but one person, he took care of this, the matzahs for everybody. Then they took him away also in 1941, I think. So we were baking matzahs, everybody in the house, like everybody went to help. A few people, like they baked matzahs in our house for the whole family. So other people came to help. We went to other people to help. So when I was helping, how you say Valgan matzahs?
To knead them or to roll them.
Roll them. I was helping, we were the girls, we went to roll the matzahs to the place there. So it was by one person, we went to help, and somebody came in and told that story, what happened, that the Germans came into Budapest. We had no radios, we had no electricity in our town, nothing, we had lamps. And so everybody was very sad, we were very upset, nothing you could do about it. We heard the news because my father every day went to Tjačevo, and we brought a paper from there. So more or less we knew what goes on.
How far away is Budapest from Bedevla?
In Budapest, I don't know the kilometers, but you had to travel 7-8 hours
by train?
By train. I'm gonna go back to 1941 now, because I forgot to say that. Then when they released us and they took the Jews away, so one day the Shoichet from Bedevla wasn't home, he was someplace away, and he came home 2 or 3 days later. My mother went away to Budapest to make citizen papers for the whole family, because we needed citizen papers, Hungarian citizen papers, because we were occupied by Hungary, but we needed, otherwise they took away the people who didn't have citizen papers. All right, my mother went away to Budapest, my father went away someplace, and I was left with my sister alone home. The Shoichet came home.
How old was your sister at the time?
My sister was 3 years older than me.
So she was 15 years old? They left the two of you home alone?
This was, no, for the day just. My father came home at night.
Okay.
No, my sister I was more already in 1941.
Oh, sorry.
1941, I was already 15, she was 18.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't leave us. No, my father came home at night. But he went away for the day, and when the Shoichet came home, so his wife was running in front of him and was so happy that he came home, It didn't take an hour. Those police, those gendarmes came, and they took the whole family away also. And when we saw this, we, my sister, we got very scared. We were home alone. We were running to the woods. We were running up to the orchard, to that gentle guy who took care. I mean, we were girls. We didn't know what to do. We told them what happened. So we stayed there the whole day, the rest of the day. Then we sent him down. He should go down. It was, about a few kilometers to go there. He should go down to see if my father is home already. So he came back. He said the father is home. And he told him where we are, because my father didn't know where we are. And this is how we got home. So my mother was in Budapest for a while. She did the papers for everybody, for the whole family. Because my mother was from Transylvania, she talked a good Hungarian, We didn't know Hungarian. So she did for the whole family the citizen paper. She stayed weeks there, maybe 6 weeks at least, till everything was done. It cost money, and she came with the citizen papers. Everything was okay. So then, and this was in 1941. So I told already the story till 1944. In 1944, that before Pesach, all right, it was already, but still everybody had to make Pesach, we had to prepare everything fine. The day before Pesach, the German army marched into our town and they wanted to station there. So they came into our house, they didn't want to take the whole house, but 2 rooms, they wanted for officers. They wanted to take, was very afraid, but it was the Wehrmacht. It wasn't the SS, it was the Wehrmacht. And we wanted, we had to go to the Seder. My father went to make the Seder for my grandmother, because my grandfather passed away, because by us was a custom. Nobody was going to grandparents or to family, didn't get together to a Seder. Everybody made the Seder in their home. This is how it was by us. So they came in, but what was the problem? The problem was our town had typhus sickness. The Goyim in the woods, I don't know that they'd say. The Goyim didn't want the Germans should stay also. So they told them that it was typhus goes on, so they left. So we were very happy they left.
There actually was typhus, or was a lie?
It was something went on, and they left. They left us. Okay, we went to the side there to my grandfather and grandmother's
So the Germans
house.
said, sorry, those officers never stayed in the house. They came, they wanted to, but they went away.
They wanted, and they said they wanted 2 rooms, because we had 2 rooms there, where we had an extra room for us, but there was 2 rooms. He said they want those 2 rooms, and we should put them in, a heat, because it was still cold that time, so we put them in. I remember somebody came and put in that a river, you called it. I don't know how you call it. Here is not such a thing, but they should, you made with wood. A fire, and it went out to the
The chimney?
chimney,
And so
we
that
did it for them, but they left. So we were very happy they left. We went for the Seder, we came home. For the second Seder also we went, and we came home, everything was okay. The last day of Pesach, this was Achashel Pesach, they called my husband, they called my father. He should go to those gendarmes, to those police. They was in Terrace, where they had the station. He should go there. They called him, and they called another guy from the town. They called him, so nobody knew for what. We were very upset. It was, after shul he went, and he came there. They didn't tell him nothing. They told him to go home. What was the problem? The problem also was with the typhus, that the town had typhus, so they didn't want to take the Jews yet, because, the Germans were very afraid for typhus. So after that, we knew already what goes on. We started thinking it was late in the day already, after Pesach. People came on bicycles, Jewish boys came on bicycles from Bedevla. They were running to Tchatchovo, they also heard something happened, what goes on. The next morning we saw already the cattle trains with people running. So my grandfather, from my mother's side, he sent a woman, came to see what's doing by us. Because, I'm telling you, there was no telephones, was no nothing. We were still home. They were still home too. So she went back to tell him that we are still home. My grandfather had from his son, my mother had a brother. He was also in that working army. And she had 4 children. Beautiful 4 children. And she was a beautiful young woman. And my grandfather took those children to his house because, she should be able to make a living for herself because they had a grocery store and they took it away from them. And I don't know what she did, but he took away the children for her. So the day when this happened, he took somebody, a guy, and sent her home the children. I always say if they would not have sent home the children, she would have survived. My mother's brother didn't survive. He was captured from the Russians. I don't know, something in Siberia, they captured a lot of those in the working army. And he died there. And she had 4 small children, so they right away. So a day after Yontif, right away, my mother washed the spices, dishes, everything, put everything away in place, everything, and she started baking. Because we didn't go to the store to buy a kilo, a pound of flour. But we always had, on the attic, we always had sacks of flour for challis, and for bread. And my mother started by baking cookies. How many flours we had? We had 6 sacks. For 2 weeks she baked those cookies to take along.
At that time, you didn't know where those
Nobody
trains
knew
were
nothing.
going?
They said they're taking the Jews to on the fields to work in Hungary. Nobody knew what's happening, where they took. They took to the ghettos, but nobody knew nothing.
You knew that there were ghettos then?
We knew, I think we knew. No, maybe we didn't know what it was. Really, I don't remember it. We didn't know nothing. They said they're taking the Jews to work, they're taking the Jews here, nobody knew nothing. What happened, there was, by us in town was a notaire. They called him, he was the head of the town, not a mayor, I don't know how you, okay. So they gave him they took from every house, every woman gave her jewelry. They got my father and that other guy, he was in charge of this. They took all the jewelries from the woman and they...
This was the Jews organized? Or this was the Jews organized to do this? To collect all the jewelry, or this was them, non-Jew taking away from?
No, it was from the Jewish organization. They should give to that guy, he should close down the town. He should close
to the non-Jewish mayor?
Yeah.
Right.
He should close down the town. So, whatever we had jewelry, just my mother's diamond earrings and the ring, this was, my father gave it to her for the engagement. This I lost 1 stone. I told you already once. You remember when you found that pin? You remember, Stin? Yeah. This is 1 stone. And I have the ring. I also put it in another ring because it was broken. I have also those, it's not big stones, but that's all I have. So my mother had a golden watch. My father had a pocket watch, a gold, everything we gave away to that. So he couldn't, for 2 weeks he closed the town. Couldn't go further.
By close.
He gave all the jewelry to that man and he closed down the town for 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, one day they came and they said I don't know how to say, in the towns they were poking.
On what?
Where the town was running out to hear when it was something news in the town. A guy came with a
stick?
Not with a stick, with a pump. How you call this? But when they have, stop it because I don't know what I'm saying. Well, they came out with a guy came out and knocked a drum because this was in the town, so everybody came out in the houses to listen what is news in the town. They said all the Jews should be packed. They could take 50 kilograms with them and be ready. They're going to come to pick him up. That's all. So We took the most important things, like I don't remember, my mother had a fur coat, I never remember if this was, she took it with her, my father had a coat with a fur lining, I don't know if they took it, our coats, I don't know what we took. But I know one thing, that I put on 3 or 4 dresses, one on the other. It should be beside the 50 kilogram, because it was allowed a family 50 kilogram. So they took us in the afternoon already, they came to us. So before, my mother still took out from the closet, we had some linen and things, and she brought it over to a neighbor, it was a good neighbor of ours, because he came in and he told my father, don't go no place, don't let this should take you away, run away wherever you can. If I'll be able, I'm gonna help you. If you don't wanna go, let the girls go. But I would not go, and my father would not let us go anyway.
What was the neighbor's name?
The neighbor's name was Ivan Roger was the neighbor's name. But we were afraid for her, because she was not such a, she had contact with all those gendarmes, I don't know. We were afraid that she's going to give us out, his wife. We didn't go. So the last minute, my father wanted to take, he had the earrings, my mother's earrings and the ring he wanted to take with him in case, we need money or something, to sell it. We didn't know where we're going. And then he decided, the last minute, we had under the house, we had a little basement. It wasn't really a basement, it was like a dicta hall, but it was a basement. So, but the step of the basement, he put in a big asna chalk, I don't know how to say it in English.
Like
go deep.
A sharp piece of wood, a stake.
A stick.
Steak.
A stake, all right. Should go deep, and he let it down in a little glass. He put in the earrings and the ring, and he let it down, he covered this, and he said, children, come see where it is. Who knows who's going to come home? We should be able to, And he said, I remember like now when he said it, those words, when he said, come, look who's going to come home to find it. And they took us away to the shul at night. We were sleeping in the shul. Now I cannot understand, there was an Urn Kodesh, and people didn't open the Urn Kodesh to beten, to pray, to say nothing. Nobody didn't even daven, because it was women with men together, so they didn't even daven. Now I remember that. We slept there on the floors till the morning. The mornings, they took all the goyim from the towns who had wagons with horses. And for every family, they gave a wagon with a horse to take us to the next town, to Teresva, to the station. Because we had a station, but, train station. But the train station by us was standing just a minute. And there was us with a lot of rails, already in Teresva.
Is this... You said off camera about the guy who came to pay your father back. When did that happen now, or that was a different time?
No, it was before we left. The day before, when he was already saying to that everybody should
the night
go.
Before the night in the shul.
Before the night in the shul.
So what happened?
In the day when they took us away, he came in a guy. He owed my father money because he lent the money. I don't know, my father was making business with those guys. He always lent the money, buy but them the apples on the trees, and gave him. They needed, the guy needed money beforehand, so he gave him. So he came in, this was one guy, came in and he said, here is the money, I know you're going to need it and I don't want to owe you. And he brought him, I don't remember how much it was, but it was money. It was a bigger amount of money, and he gave it to him. So they took us with every family, they gave a wagon, and they took us to Teresva, to the station, to the train station. The train station, those police, those border police, they separated the men in one corner and the woman in the other corner, and they made us undress completely nude, and we didn't hide something. everybody was very upset. The men went out in their mind there, you know, but they didn't do nothing to nobody, just looked and we got dressed again. Then they put us in wagons, in cattle wagons, but in open, not in closed wagons to the ghetto. We didn't know where we went, where we going, but they took us.
What do you mean open? The
open,
doors were
the
open?
cattle wagons open, the doors were open.
And how many people were in?
No, it was okay. It was plenty room. It was just for the day because we arrived there like before evening. They took us into, I don't remember already what time. It wasn't a long ride. It was a few hours. They took us to the ghetto to Hungary. Mateszalka was the name. Because we came from the town that it was typhus, they put us separate. They didn't put us in the ghetto. The ghetto was in the cemetery. They put us in a building. I don't know what there was a building called. It was a yeshiva. It was a big building. I done the whole town in that building. It wasn't place for everybody in the room, so we went in the attic also, and we stayed there about 2 weeks.
Do you know how many people you were around?
It was the whole town, children, small children, bigger children. You know, we could have run away from there 100 times because there was just Jewish boys were watching us with the bands, you know, in that house. In the ghetto was Germans already.
What bands?
They had yellow bands. We had the Yellow Stars, this I forgot also. The Yellow Stars started also at that time when the Germans came into Budapest before Pesach.
Right before Pesach, 1944.
Yeah, that started one on the left side, we had a yes, and one in the back on the right side, 2 stars. So they was watching us. And cannot remember what we ate. I know they gave us dry products to cook. I don't remember where they cooked, who cooked. I cannot remember that. We ate, I know we ate there, but I don't know what. I don't remember. There was a cold shower to take. We took cold showers in the courtyard. There was a shower, cold. We took showers, we washed. And we stayed there about 2 weeks. I don't remember dates again. When they came, all of a sudden, they came and they took us to it was also on a Shabbos, they took us to the ghetto. On a Shabbos night, they took us to the ghettos, and in the ghettos they were cooking, you know, they were cooking for the people. It was a cook, you know, outside, I don't remember. I remember my father said to us, to the children, we should eat. He didn't eat because it was cooked Shabbos. And he told us we should eat. So we ate. Some soup or some churnt, I don't remember what it was, but we ate. We had still our food, you know, we had still food from home because we took a lot of things. We took bread, we took cookies, I told you we had 6 sacks of cookies that my mother baked. And we took also, goose fattening, the schmaltz.
Goose fat.
Goose fat, cooked, you know, cooked. We put it on the bread. And, we weren't hungry yet. The next day, they took away everything. When we came to the ghetto, they said everything, throw away, nothing. So I was very upset. I said, well, they took away the talus and tefillin to my father, and there was in the barracks were a lot of luggages. So I went through luggages and I find the talus and tefillin.
Nobody was watching?
Nobody was watching, nobody saw. And I took out the talus and tefillin and I said for my father, I didn't give it to him, I kept it. Later, they didn't daven already because you don't daven when it's Tomo, when it's, you in the train, when they took us, nobody davened. They had, but nobody davened already because it was between the women and those cookies also we saved, and we saved the food. I don't know how, but we saved things. They took us, the next day they took us, but came a Hungarian officer, he told us, they putting KD peoples in a cattle wagon and they closing the doors. This already, we saw this is no good. We were still thinking they taking us for work.
So you were only in the ghetto for that 1 day or 2 days?
We were just a day in the ghetto. Right away they shipped us away.
Were there anybody else who was in the ghetto, or the ghetto was empty?
Yeah, the ghetto was a lot of people yet in the ghetto. Even they made us to go to look, in the barracks to people. Yeah, so many gold, there's so many what we found, but we didn't give it to them. We told us. They said we should look for it. This was a Hungarian officer. He said, "Help me look, find something for me." So we said we didn't find nothing. But I saw so many jewelry, but people already the last minute they throw away there. And they took us to the station. This was already the Germans. They put us on big trucks, and they took us to the station. They put 80 people in a wagon, and there was bread, this very dark bread, the heavy. It was like a piece of line, like wood, mud, and bread, and it was 2 pails, one with water and one, somebody have to go make. Now we saw bread and water already. We was thinking, it's they're not going to kill us right away. They gave us bread and water in the train, but we didn't need that because we had still our food.
And you were with your parents.
I was still with my parents in the same wagon with the whole family, not only with the parents.
Including your grandmother.
My grandmother, my aunt, still with everybody the same. With my father's brother, with cousins, still in the same wagon we went in. We slept, I think, we were traveling 2 days because we slept one night. And when they put us in that cattle train, and the train stopped in Košice. Oh, my father said, we're going to Poland, because Košice was the border of Poland.
And Czechoslovakia?
This was Slovakia, but then
right.
it was already Hungary that time. And then we went, a whole night, and then my father, according when the sun came out, he said where we are. There, we were standing, we came to Auschwitz, in the morning to the city, Auschwitz, to the station. The train stopped there for a whole day. We saw Auschwitz, we didn't know nothing. The train stayed for a whole day, we didn't see nothing at all. In the way, always they stopped a few times, to empty out the pails of waste and to give us fresh water. Wherever it was water, they opened the wagons, and 2 people went out and they took water and brought in water.
And this was summer sometime?
This was in May.
In May?
In May, like Shavuos time. It wasn't hot. It wasn't hot in the air was, because it wasn't closed completely. There was air in but the doors were locked. Nobody could go out. Then the train started moving, like late in the afternoon, and it didn't go far, because from Auschwitz till the camp, till Birkenau wasn't far. Oh, all of a sudden we saw people in those striped clothes with barracks, and my father said, this is a concentration camp. He said they're going to separate the men from the women.
1 second.
We arrived at Birkenau.
Birkenau.
My father right away said it's a concentration. When we saw the men in the striped clothes, that it's a concentration camp, he said we're going to be separated, the men from the women.
Just one question. When did you know about concentration camps?
I don't know. My father knew everything. I'm telling you, he knew everything. He was captured in, I told you, he was captured in Russia, he was in Kiev, he was traveling a lot. He knew what goes on in the whole world.
He was captured, that was World War I or World War II?
World War I.
Okay.
So the train stopped, and they started taking us off. Laus, they started screaming, those Germans, fast, fast, Laus, we should go out from the wagons, and they separated. The men separate, the women separate, the young for work separate, and to the gas chamber separate. We didn't know that, but this is how they separated. To left, we went to the right, who went to work, and the others went to the left. The children with the older people to the left, and the men also. Separate the men and separate the women. We still didn't know nothing. I was happy my mother came with us. then who had small children. So one of my cousin, she was a younger, she was 12 years old. And she was a nice developed girl, and they let her go also to the right side, and the mother with the smaller children, this was Paul's mother.
What's her name?
Henda Raizel also. She was with, okay, so we went, they took us we were walking to Birkenau, I didn't know where it was, we saw the camps, we saw the people. They took us into a place where we had to take off everything, what we were wearing. I was still wearing my 3 or 4 dresses. And I took it off there in the ghetto, but then I put it on again when they took us. We had to take off everything, throw down everything, and they took us to shower, they shaved our hair off. We didn't recognize one another. You know, I recognized my mother. My mother was shaved anyway, and I recognized my sister, but I didn't recognize my friends when they shaved us off. And they gave us just a dress. Did that fit? Was it big? Was it small? That's all they gave you. No underwear, we had to hold the shoes. Our shoes, we had to hold in the hands because they left us. Because shoes, they didn't, I don't know. They let us go with the shoes. And they took us to a Seelager. It was in Birkenau, to Block 14. They took the men in the same Seelager just for one night. We didn't know that. For one night, across to the other side, also in the same Seelager.
What's Seelager?
This how it calls. In Birkenau was A, B, C, and this was Seelager, so Seelager. In Block 14, we were in Block 14. And my father, with all the other people, were across in our barrack, but they didn't allow us to go out yet that time because the man was there also. So the boys came in secretly, came and see who was there. So I told them, when a cousin came, that he should tell my father that my mother is with us, and everywhere. But the morning, the men weren't there already. They took him away to Plaszów. They weren't there already. I didn't know that time, but I know now that they took him away to Plaszów. In the morning, they let us out, so we were running to see where they are. There was no man already. There was women already in those barracks. We had a block eldest. She was in charge of the block. She was a very mean person. She was a young girl, and she was from Slovakia. And she was already since 1942 there. And
She's Jewish?
Jewish, sure. And they trained them. They had no choice, but some of them didn't do so big. They didn't listen everything. She yelled at us. She screamed. You are in Hungarian. She was talking Hungarian. She was from Slovakia. She was from, I forgot already the name. I knew already from which place she was from Slovakia. She screamed, you cows, you be quiet and don't scream and you don't talk. And she was with a stick. She hit whoever she could. Then one man came in. That night, one man came in, a German man. He was also a flüchtling. He was also in the striped clothes, but he was already there also a long time. He came in. He said, "You forget from family here. Everybody's on their own. You have no sisters, no brothers, no mothers, no everybody is on their own." This is what he told us. You're gonna go to work and you're gonna, if you behave, you're gonna be okay. And it wasn't true, okay. They started selecting already the next day or two, they started taking people to work. And I made the biggest mistake in my life that I was running always away. We didn't want to go. If we would have gone right away from Auschwitz, maybe my mother and my sister would have survived too. But we didn't know where they're taking us. We stayed together, so we always went away, they shouldn't take us.
So what did you do all day?
Nothing. We had with 1 block. We was showers. We went to take showers. We washed. We went to. I don't remember already where we got. They gave us some clothes. I don't know how. I can't remember because I remember having already underwear. And we were sitting and talking. They woke us up. At daybreak, they woke us up for a sail appel.
For?
Sail appel. They counted the people. So sometimes he was standing for hours because if it didn't balance, not only for an hour part, from the Seelager, also from the whole Auschwitz, you'd have to balance the people. If one was missing, one was hiding, one died during the night, till they didn't find the person. We stayed outside. They didn't let us go away. We had to stay 5 people in a row. And this is how they counted us. So it was my mother, me, my sister, my first cousin. She was with me all the time. And I don't know a 5th one who ever came over.
Your grandmother, she got selected right when you came in?
My grandmother?
Your father's mother.
They took her right away to the left side. We saw the car at night. First we didn't know what it is. Then we knew already. When they burned the fire, when smoke went from the chimney. It was the first night. They took away right away, those people. And that's how we lived. We stayed in Auschwitz from May, or beginning of June, till after Simsovic.
And you didn't work that whole time?
Didn't work, nothing. Just didn't do nothing. Once I went away, I'm thinking now they could have taken me away and not bring me back to that camp, to that lab. They said, who wants to go to take hot showers and wants to go get clean clothes and disinfect thing, So we went, a few girls, we went with a German woman, an SS woman, and with one who was in charge in our block. I went also. My mother and my sister didn't go. They gave me clean clothes, I washed and a hot shower, and they brought us back. They did things like this also. I'm getting dizzy.
Stop?
Stop a little.
We took a short break, and now we're back.
So we had bunk beds. We were laying on bunk beds, 3, one on another. 8 people, 8 or 10, I think 8 people on one bed, which 4 were laying this way and 4 were laying the opposite way. That's how we slept. They gave us nothing, on wood. They gave us just covers, blankets to cover. They gave us like military blankets. My mother had a schmierer von the old Wisnitzer Rebbe, von Srul Hager. As a young woman, I don't know, she had some, I don't know, he gave her a schmierer. So that schmierer, when they told us to take everything, to throw away all the clothes, she put it in her mouth. In this house, she...
What was it, the schmierer?
Schmierer. I have one too. I'm carrying it already for years. I'm going to tell you later how I got it. There's a quarter, I have it from the Wisnitzer Rebbe, but you were, no, you were...
Yeah,
you were but the son.
I wasn't by any.
You wasn't by any, so he was...
But so it was...
I put it on my bra.
It's a coin.
It's a coin, yeah. I avenged the coin from the Rebbe, but when he gave us, he went to the mikveh and he toiveled with it, and one time I didn't feel good here. So we were in Israel, and Zaidi went to the Rebbe and told him that my mother had a schmierer, he should give me also a schmierer. First he didn't want to give, and then he said, okay. It was the Yurtzat from his father. He said, in Schiss for my Tata, I'll give it to her. So he went with that quarter, and he toiveled in the mikveh, and Zaidi was waiting there, and because the Histik rabbi, when he was the Rov, he said, don't let him go with him, stay there till he's going to bring it out. He brought it, and he gave it to him in the hand. and I made this, and I'm watching it like my everything. And I really, after, you have to believe in it, I start feeling better. So my mother had a chmira. She kept it, I don't know why, she could have keep it on her, you know, she was afraid that they're going to see, she kept it in the shoes, because they let us go with the shoes. And she kept it so long, till the last time, this was already before it happened, they took her away, all of a sudden it disappeared. I don't know how, she didn't have the shmira. And, okay, so we was sleeping, they gave us a soup, once a day a soup. That soup was a very heavy soup. But you know, we were used to it. I say it, we made drinks for the cow, tasted like this. I didn't know how this tasted, but it smelled like this. But they put in for the man and for the woman, you know, something. But they put in also for soldiers, you know. The girls shouldn't have the period, you know. Right away we came to Auschwitz, we lost and everything. They gave us a one pot. We were 8 girls on that bed, on that platform, whatever it is. They gave us in one pot, and everybody took a sip. Later already...
One pot or one bowl?
One bowl, you know, one pot, one bowl. They gave... It was plenty, it was enough, but everybody had to eat from the same thing because we didn't have nothing. Later already, I don't know how we organized something. You know, we had already our own little dishes for the soup. I ate the soup. My sister couldn't eat it. She just couldn't eat it. She lived on the piece of bread. They gave us a piece of that bread like mud, and on the bread was maybe something, a piece of salami or something was on the bread. I don't remember, a piece of jelly, jam, something was on the bread, and they gave us a soup. I ate the soup. I ate. She couldn't eat. My mother also ate, not a lot, but also she ate a little. My sister couldn't eat the soup. She tried, but she couldn't. Then she got very sick. She was running high fever. She was very sick. What it was, I don't know. Once my mother went, there was a infirmary also in Auschwitz. So my mother went with her there. No, so what they gave her, there was nothing to give her. I don't know, maybe they gave her some tablets, I don't know. But she pulled out from it. She was burning in fever nights. That girl didn't eat nothing. She was drinking only water. And maybe something, you know, there was a cousin, Simsovic, you remember? His sister, she was a Stundendienst. She was also in church, and so I always went over to her. I said, Abrahmonis of Surin, give her some, because she was able to do for herself something. She cooked for herself, because a little thing. She got a potato, she got not too much, but you know, she was in contact with men, but they came in, the working people, but they worked in the camp. Once or twice she brought her over a little soup, something, she ate it. But she pulled through that sickness. I don't know how, and I don't know. The fever went down and she started feeling better. Then they started emptying out the camp. One night my mother was very sick, she threw up. She was very nauseous, she threw up, but also it was okay, she was all right for the morning. But my mother went also she lost a lot of weight, and she, you know, an aggravation with my sister, but she was so sick. So she got very run down. I was okay, I was holding myself. I lost maybe weight, but it didn't show that I lost, because whatever they gave me, I ate. That's all I ate. Then they started, it was already after Rosh Hashanah, we went to, it happened, like I tell you, my mother and my sister were very run down. My sister pulled through that sickness, but she was very run down. And they took her out from the Seelapel. And I knew what's all about, and you know, they put her in another place, and they left me.
That was your mother that they took you?
My mother and my sister.
Oh, both of them together
both
at the
them
same
together.
time.
Then they put him, maybe they didn't have room in the crematorium, I don't know what it was. They put him in a barrack, separate, with there were dead people, and there was my mother, my sister, and was another cousin. She lives here in New York, in Brooklyn. And I find out where they are, so I was running. I was running into the barrack, and I pulled them by the hand, and I just pulled them out from there. And we were running. They shouldn't see us. So I was afraid to go to that same barrack where I stayed, because she wasn't such a nice person. That I told you that she was in charge of the barrack. So I didn't go. Went to this block 16. There was also a girl. She was in charge. She was a married woman, also from Slovakia, but she was a very decent woman. And there was my cousin was there in charge. But I said she gave my sister sometimes. This was later already, something to eat. Rosh Hashanah she made, they knew when Rosh Hashanah was. So there was a woman, I don't know where they took a chali. They had a chali, and a woman was davening, everybody was listening. It was at night, they closed the barrack, and they watched. Nobody should come. And they made kiddush, and I don't know from where they took the chali, probably from people who brought it because people kept on coming to Auschwitz and all over the place. The lodger Ghetto started coming when we were there already. And so we stayed there till it was like Yom Kippur was the biggest selection. The biggest selection was in Yom Kippur. They knew those Germans when Yom Kippur was. So they made the biggest selection in Yom Kippur to take people to the crematorium. It was already after Simchas Torah. This was the last selection. They said that they're going to empty out the lager. So we had no choice already. We're going for work. So they let me go with my mother, with my sister. They let me go till Mengele didn't came to look at us. They took us they let us out from the camp, and they took us to the station where there also they took us for showers, for hot shower. They gave us hot showers. They gave us this clean clothes. When they sent us off to work, they gave us some food. So they let me through with my cousin. They didn't let through my mother with my sister, because they were very run down. My mother looked very bad already. She was a young woman. She was 48 years old. But after Tzures, what she saw by my sister was run down. I remember I took a beads. I don't know where I got a beads, and I colored her face should be a little red. She shouldn't be so pale. But Mengele saw that she would. If they would have let her go, they would have worked, because from the beginning wasn't bad in the working camp. So they put us on trains, and I saw my cousin Henda from Natanya. You knew her, yeah? But they had the restaurant.
I think we met.
So I saw her also that she's going with the same train. But what was, she didn't go to the same lager. They was in the same train, but they discontinued, for your wagons. But we went to another place, she went to another place. I went to Germany, to Mittelsteine, to Sudeten. This was Sudetengebiet, Mittelsteine.
So all this, your mother and sister were already selected?
My mother and sister, I didn't know. From then on, I didn't know where they went, what they did. They killed them right away, or they took them back to the camp. I have no idea. I know one thing, my mother, we had some bread, so we took it with us, and my mother was holding the bread. So my mother gave to that cousin. She knew that I don't have nothing, so she gave up to my cousin. She should give me. She was thinking that she goes also in the same place, but she didn't go in the same place. She gave her bread. She should hand it for me. And they gave us something on the way, I think, and they put us also in closed cattle wagons, girls only. And we were riding a whole night and a whole day, and that's the second night we came into that camp in Germany. So there was already normal barracks.
What was the name of the camp?
Mittelsteine. There was already normal bunk beds, like one and two, not three, two, one down and one on top, but everybody had a separate bed. And they gave us a pillow with a blanket, and it was also not a mattress, but it was something. We didn't lay on the wood. I don't know what it was. I don't remember, but it was already. And it was a table with chairs to sit down. And I was thinking, my God, why my mother couldn't come with me, with my sister? We would have been here. We were gonna survive.
And this was after Sukkot sometime?
This was the end of Simchas Torah. It was already cold outside also. It was cool already. We had showers outside. We took cold showers even I was there through like February or March, because when the Russians came closer, so they took us to another camp. So I took every day or every second, took a cold shower in the winter. I don't know how we did it, not only me, all the girls. We went to take a shower outside. We had outside in the frost with cold water. Could you imagine? We washed, and they gave us already, they changed our clothes occasionally. Then I went to work. They took me to work. And also they woke us up around 4 o'clock in the morning. Because we had to go at least an hour. We went on foot at least an hour to the factory. Winter in the cold, it started getting cold. They gave us a coat, but a light coat. They gave us wooden shoes, no socks, no nothing. I have signs, I don't know if you're going to see it on the camera.
1 second.
Because I had frozen food. I have scarves from that.
Yeah, I see it.
In the cold weather. So I went and I took, in the factory I found newspaper, and I had some strings, I don't know from where I took it, and I covered my feet with the newspaper, and this is how I walked. So newspaper keeps you warm, the feet. I took out the lining from the coat, a piece of the lining, and made a scarf. I should cover my ears, because it was cold, it was freezing. We walked about an hour. We made it for 6 o'clock. We had to be there, 6 o'clock, because the night shift didn't go away from the machine till the second shift didn't came. 6 o'clock we started. We worked from 6 till 6. With a break, a half an hour for lunch. So they gave us a soup. The soup was from the beginning, the factory gave us the food, so the soup was not so bad, so we had a plate of soup, and we had also a piece. That loaf bread was like, they have here those square thing, they have the bread, those, not the round bread, not the loaf bread.
Like a white bread loaf.
Not a loaf, like there's a square, more like a square. They have here also breads like this, I think. The whole wheat bread is like this. So they gave a quarter of a bread for a person a day, but it was like mud. The dark bread like mud was, but we ate it. And they gave also on the bread a piece of salami, a piece of liverwurst, there was something they gave. And they gave once a day a soup. I started losing weight, from that food, because it wasn't enough. In Auschwitz they gave us that soup, I don't know, I had enough, and here it wasn't enough. Working 12 hours. 12 hours a day working on the feet. I worked on a machine, but I was standing on my feet for 12 hours. I worked, it was a ammunition factory, but for aeroplanes they were working on a machine. It was a Schleiferei, they call this. Schleiferei, what is this, They came always, one girl, a German girl, came with a caliber to check if it doesn't have to be adjust the machine, something, if it's okay. So we worked from 6 till 6 in the day, starting Monday morning till Saturday night. The next shift was from Sunday night till Friday, till Saturday morning. 1 week we had a day shift and 1 week a night shift. So when we worked the night shifts, the week to go back to the day shift, we had at least a little off. So we came back Saturday morning, we had off till Monday morning. But when we had the day shift, we came home Saturday night, and Sunday night we had to go back to work. And this went on like this from, what does it say, from October till I think beginning of March. We were in that camp.
And so what were you? I know it was some sort of munition factory, but what were you doing there every day?
I said this. I was working by machine, but she was. I don't know how to say it in English. You know, they were cutting things. You know, I put in a piece in the machine, metal, and I went with the machine, and it was cutting.
And that's what you did.
That's what I did. So, you know, at night was so miserable. The night was so long, from 6 to 6. They gave us 9 o'clock, they gave us the supper. So they gave us the little soup, what it was, cabbage and water. Black coffee, they gave us a whole night. We could drink a whole night black coffee. And so I was counting the pieces. I said, no, I'm going to count till 200 pieces, and then I'm going to look at the clock. I'm not looking before at the clock. So I counted the 200 pieces, the 300 pieces, and I looked at the clock, it's already 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't look a whole night because, you know, the night was so long, and I made so much that they awarded me with an extra soup because I made so much work. But not always a soup. They gave me sometimes a soup, and they gave me a soup was good. They gave me all kind of things. I was able to go into the canteen to buy a comb, powder. I needed like a hole in my head. I had no hair.
You had money?
I had already little hair. You know?
Did you have money? What do you mean to buy?
No money. They gave me coupons.
Oh.
They gave me because I made so much. Why I made so much? I'm telling you why. Because I didn't want to look at the clock, so I counted the pieces, how much I made, how many I should make this pieces, and then I look at the clock. So it went away for 5 hours. It was terrible. One night I didn't faint it, but I almost fainted. Probably for hunger and tired. And I started screaming, Mommy. They took me to the infirmary, and there was a noise, a German girl. She put me down on a bed, and the German SS took me there, and she left me there. I was there about an hour. She left me there, and so the German girl told me the noise. She said, don't sleep. She gave me her sandwich. She knew why I felt like this. I was pale like a ghost. She gave me her sandwich, but she took alone for herself for the night, and she said, eat it up before the SS woman comes back. But don't sleep. Do me a favor, don't sleep. I didn't fall asleep. I was up, but I ate this sandwich, you know, this gave me a little strength. They took me back she came back for me, and they took me back. I went back to the machine to work. Once it happened to me during the night also with the machines, you know, with those knives. I mean, this was dangerous. And I dozed off by the machine, and a piece fell on my head. And he came running, the head from the factory. He told me in German, what did you do? You could have killed yourself. You could have hurt your eye. What did you was sleeping? He told me you was sleeping, and I didn't answer him even. He was the foreman. This, you know what it is, a foreman.
Yeah.
Foreman. My foreman, he was from Hamburg. He talked German with a very heavy German accent, you know, that I understood because I took in the high school, I took German language. And Jewish is a little similar, so I was able to talk with other people. But he was talking such a German, from Hamburger German, that I hardly understood him. He sometimes brought me something. You know, I had a little night table by the machine. He put it in there, nobody should see. And if you eat it, they shouldn't see. I never forget, it was Christmas time. He brought me a piece of cake with cream. I didn't know I should eat it, or I should look at it, what I should do with it. When I had a thing like this. And then it was a Russian girl also. She worked also on a machine like this near me. She was also forced to come to Germany to work. She didn't come on her own. She was from Kharkov. She also brought me sometime. They also had it, you know, they had curfews. They couldn't go outside at night, but they paid them. They got money for the work, and they bought themselves food. She also sometimes brought me something, you know, some fruit. She brought me one time, she brought me a piece of bread, a sandwich, also.
When you got hurt that time, that was not serious?
Nothing happened. I woke up.
Right.
That thing, I woke up good.
And do you know why the foreman brought you things? Just because you were a good worker?
What?
The foreman, why would he bring you things?
Oh, I don't know. No, not because he felt sorry for me. Not that he was, you know, not all the Germans were bad.
Yeah, sure. But there were other women there. Like, why, he brought for everybody or just brought for you?
No, he was my foreman. He brought for me. I don't know. He was my foreman. Maybe he was for somebody else too. But he brought for me. But he probably felt sorry for me. This is the only reason, for nothing else. He said, you know, they were afraid, those SS women, they were standing out all night in the factory with us. 2 women came with the girls and stayed there. All right, they didn't stay near us, but, you know, like if he had to adjust something and the machine, let's say the machine went something wrong, the caliber didn't match, so he had to adjust the machine. He said, go behind the machine, nobody should see it. It was big machines. And those off a little. He wasn't a bad man. He wasn't a bad man at all. One night, we were working for night shift. We were working, and the girls, hungry was everybody, and there was a wagon with a horse a man was carrying salamis to the stores. I don't know why at night, and they were run out from the line, and they run to that wagon. And they took away salamis, and maybe, I don't know if they ate it or they took it away from them, I don't know. It was a whole court, because it was everything, you know, how to say, on Chalukah, how you say it? You don't know either.
I understand Chalukah.
It was everything, so they had also proved...
Rations.
Rations, so they had to prove that they took it away from him. So they went to court, and we were thinking those girls never going to come back.
Court in between these Jewish girls who are working at the factory and this delivery guy in the German town.
It was a court because he had to prove himself that they took away from him, you know.
Oh, he got in trouble because of the rations.
Yeah, sure. Right. So they took him, they dressed him nice, and they took him to court. And they came back. Nothing happened. They gave him a good lunch, they said there, and nothing happened to them. A lot of things, what happened? A lot of things happened. What else? What's important? It went day by day, night by night, you know. I ate up everything what they gave me. Girls put away for tomorrow, you know, they put the piece of bread, they made portions, a piece now, a piece at night, a piece I never. They gave it to me, I ate it up, and this was the best thing. They gave it to me, I ate it up, I didn't have nothing. Because if I wanted to put away something, under the pill, I couldn't sleep till I didn't eat it up. What was that to eat, that piece of bread? You know, then we find out when it's Pesach. Listen to
Pesach?
that. Pesach.
You're talking about it now.
No, we were still in lager. Pesach, we were in lager.
You're going backwards in time?
No.
You're talking now. It's 1945 Pesach.
No, 1944 Pesach.
That's when they took you away from your town.
Oh, 1945 Pesach, yeah.
But so what happened in February? You said they moved you.
No, this was in February 1945 already.
Right. So what happened?
So maybe this was no, they moved us after Pesach, I think it was. I don't know how we find out that it was. So we said, girls, we're not going to eat bread. At least this, I don't know why, you know, we didn't have what to eat. We're not going to eat bread, Pesach. So maybe we didn't need the first 2 days, you know, we could do it without it. It was a long winter, and the day went very slow at work. The week went fast, but 12 hours to stay on the feet from 6 till 6. We weren't allowed to leave the machine till 5 minutes before 6. We had to clean up. And 6 o'clock the other shift was standing there. Also the Germans worked like this. Also those Germans who worked in that factory, they worked 12 hours a shift. 12 day and 12 night, the same shift they had. All right, they had food. We had supper 9 o'clock. I think they had 9 or 9:30. They had a half an hour before us. So sometimes, the plate was still on the... They left some food. You should see how those girls run to those plates to eat the leftovers. I never could do it. I don't know how hungry I was. I never was able to do a thing like this. I ate raw potatoes. I ate potato peels from cooked potatoes. I ate rieben, I don't know how you call this, those big things, those, I don't know. Rieben, I'll say rieben. If the kitchen put out, somebody put it especially on the window a piece of this, and I saw it, I took it away, but this happened maybe once or twice. I had all right, now I was with my cousin also. I worked in the
Which cousin was this?
This is Henda Raizel. Also Henda Raizel Simsovic. I worked with her. She worked in another department. She worked in the Bora, like they were scrolling. Also electricity, in the same factory, also the ammunition factory. She cut her finger. So there was the lager älteste, in charge of the lager where we worked already in the working camp. She was a Polish girl, and there was a doctor, a Hungarian girl, a young doctor. She probably just finished medical school, and she was the doctor there. She sewed it together, the finger, and then came the German doctor to see if she did a good job. She had it wasn't a good job. So she was the youngest in the camp. She was 12 years old. Maybe she was going on 13 already. She didn't go anymore to the factory. The doctor and the Polish woman, the lagerälteste, they gave her work in the camp to do. She didn't go anymore to the factory. And they gave her also food. She also gave me a little. But it wasn't enough how much she got. She had to eat herself. Girls used to run to the kitchen. They used to steal from the kitchen. They were afraid. Those girls in the kitchen were also afraid. At night, they were working at night. So the German SS woman came at night, like make believe they came to steal. They had to start screaming, go away from the kitchen, go away from the kitchen. And then they saw it was, they knew already that it's SS woman probably.
To just test them?
Yeah, they test them. They could guard them, but they give away something. They cooked also for them. They cooked also for the SS. Then we had the Wehrmacht. The Wehrmacht was staying. They weren't allowed to come in the camp. They had their station outside the camp, but they watched also. So once they sent me to clean his room. I had to wash the floor and I was thinking maybe he'll give me something. He didn't give me nothing.
This was with the commander of the Wehrmacht?
No, he was a soldier.
Just some soldier.
I was thinking maybe he'll give me a piece of bread, he'll give me something for the work what I did for him. And so they weren't allowed to come in. No men were allowed to come in our camp. That was very... They weren't allowed to touch a Jewish girl. They would have hanged him right away. This is one thing. They weren't allowed. Once they took us with a train. This was already with a passenger train. They took us. They needed something, some merchandise came in. We should help to unload it, So they took girls. We didn't know where they took us. They took girls in a train and we went. It wasn't, you know, we were out from the city in Mittelsteine. They took us to Mittelsteine to the station. And we didn't know where they taking us. And there was a woman, a married woman already. You know, she was maybe already in the 40s. And she started crying. They taking us on the front, on the board, you know, on the front, on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
They taking the girls on the battlefields for the soldiers. I didn't even understand what she meant. Why they taking us on the battlefields? And she was crying, they taking us on the battlefields. But the end we came there to the station, there was, they didn't need us already, they sent us back. What else? Oh, yeah, I don't know. That was long.
The factory that you're working at, that was, so it was an hour walk away, but it's only a few miles. That was Mittelsteine also? That was the...
Stein. It was Stein, but it was also part of Mittelstein, but they called it the station. They had a station there, a little station.
No, but I'm talking about the factory where you worked. It was all Mittelstein.
Mittelstein, yeah. We were walking to the city. We were walking a long walk, about an hour, and it was, you know, we were tired, and they woke us up 4 o'clock in the morning, and till we got dressed, until we got ready, and I don't remember, they gave us the bread in the morning probably, and then they gave us the lunch, and it was day shift. And it was day by day, the same thing, and we got weaker and weaker, and that's all, and then they took us, when the Russians started coming closer to the, you know, to the place, to Mittelstein. This was Sudeten, German Sudeten, I think it was a German Sudeten. Then they took us, from Mittelstein, they took us to Weißwasser. This was already in Czechia, Morava.
So you went to the east, but I guess somehow around the Russians.
I don't know where we went. I remember they took us in cattle trains, but half open. You know, they have those half cattle trains, not that closed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can imagine.
So they took us open already, and they took us to another camp, to Weißwasser. It was a big camp, bigger camp.
You know what time of month or time of year?
It was around, I'm telling you, it was around March. It was already springtime, you know. So they took us there. There I didn't go ready to work to the factory, because there was no need, because there was plenty, you know, the factory didn't need workers. So we worked in the camp, we worked, I don't know, things we did, I don't even know what. And I was always together with my cousin, and there was 3 girls from 2 sisters, and one also a friend of them from Kalin was the town. With those 3, with one I'm still in touch sometimes, with one sister.
What are their names?
No, I forgot already. I knew the 2 sisters' name, I knew. One, but the first name was Esther, and one was, I don't remember the second name. Because their brother was the husband of my cousin. I forgot her name. You know, I don't remember things. I'm going to remind myself, but now I don't remember.
It's okay.
The name is Weiskopf. Their name was Weiskopf. No. One sister died. She had leukemia in Canada. She passed away. The other is still sore this winter in Florida. She always asks of me.
And that's who? What's her name? The one in Florida. That's the one you forgot the name?
I forgot the name, what can I tell you? So we were in that camp for about, I don't know, it was still May, beginning of May, and we heard already, you know, they took us to take hot showers in a military train, you know, which it was, they had showers in the train, and they took us there and they gave the Wehrmacht. And they say, it's already then, don't worry. You know,
The Wehrmacht was telling
the
you.
Wehrmacht, they told us, it's already then, don't worry, you're going to be liberated. They gave us showers, they gave us also clean clothes, and they disinfect the clothes because they didn't have clothes. And we came back to the camp, and the Kommandoführer, she was the German woman who was the whole in charge of the whole camp. They called it the Kommandoführer. So she said, you heard already things, you heard news, she said, the last coal is going to be used.
The last coal?
The last shot, what do you say, the capsule, but the capsule goes out from the shooting, no?
Right. The shell?
Shell, yeah, the last shell is going to be used. This is what she told us. But we were running around already, we were running around happy, we were talking, we knew already it's the end. So then they planned to do something to us, but we were near a Czech town. That was already in Morava, Czechia. So there was Czech partisans. So they were watching the camp already a few days before the liberation, they were watching the camps. The Germans should do something. So the last night...
You saw the partisans during those days?
They told us afterwards.
Right.
We didn't see. The German was still there. Nobody. So it was at night. I think it was on a Shabbos night. I don't remember exactly. On Saturday night, the head from the factory came to the camp, and he called us out at Selapel. This means everybody should come out, and we knew already that they don't call us for a Selapel, that something is going. So he said, from now on you are free. But he said there is, they put in potatoes. They used to do the going by us too. They made a hole in the ground, and they put in potatoes, and they covered it with ground. They said it shouldn't froze. So he showed us where there is such with potatoes. Maybe it's going to take, he said, 2-3 days till the Russian is going to come. The Russians.
The Germans went away?
Free us. Wait a minute. Okay. He said, but watch out, the Germans are still here, the SS are still here, they have munition. Don't start up with them. Let them go. We could have started, when they went, we could have started up with them. He said, let them go, they have munition. And we saw they started running away. And we remained by ourselves. No, the first thing we went out for food, I didn't go for the potatoes. I went to there were Germans in that town, in Weisswasser, where we were. So we went to house, we went they should give us something to eat. Everybody gave us something. I eat so much in my empty stomach that I got so sick at night, I couldn't sleep a whole night, I got very sick. I didn't know but the next day, the Russians didn't came yet. The next day, we knew there is a town, a Czech town, the Czech people live. We went to that town. We stayed there.
What was the name of the town?
I don't know the name of the town. It was a Czech town. I saw already they were sewing flags, Czech flags. They was preparing. So we went into a family there, and we stayed there overnight. And the shooting went on. We had shooting a whole night. But the morning the Russians were there already. They said already, we saw already that town also. So we went back to the camp. I don't know for what. I went back to the camp. We went to the German. They were running away, Germans. Stores they left, all kind of things. I went into one house. I just took what I took. I took clothes, whatever I found, clothes. I put on underwear, clean clothes, and I had some. I found a suitcase, but they had some underwear just, women's underwear. I took us with the suitcase, and we went. Where are we going? I didn't feel so good already. Where are we going? We walking on the streets. All of a sudden, we see that somebody comes. They took away from a German, probably, a wagon with 2 horses, 2 men, and they speak Ukrainian. Polish, Ukrainian. Where are you going? We're going home also, he said. We were 4 girls, we're going with them. We said on the wagon, we're going with you. He said, come. He took us to our next camp, a Greek camp, a Greek girls' camp. That he stopped, and in the morning we're going to continue.
Who were the girls that you went with? You knew them?
All the same girls. The same, my
Okay.
cousin and those 3 girls. All till home I went with them. So they were nice people, those guys. They didn't, they were nice to us. They didn't do nothing to us. So she said, here is a camp. He stopped with the horses. They gave to eat the horses. We're going to stay here overnight. He said, you go into the camp to the girls and in the morning come back and we'll go for them. I left the suitcase there. I didn't schlep it with me. I figured, I'll have the suitcase. We went in that camp. There were Greek girls, and I got so sick at night that I had high fever. They went up, it was also bunk beds. I couldn't go up in the bunk bed. I was so weak. I lay down on a bench. The other girls went on the bunk beds. I lay down on a bench and I slept through the night. I was burning in fever. And I didn't say nothing. I didn't want they should put me in a hospital. I didn't say nothing that I'm sick, nothing I didn't eat, I couldn't eat. They had food there. There was no problem with food already. During the night, they shut the lights, and there was Russian soldiers. During the night, the girls started screaming. It was dark. They started screaming. They couldn't put on the lights because they shut off the lights. So they went and they came in. An officer came in. He put on the lights, and he said, "Girls, go away from here." He said, "In the morning, leave everybody, go away. They are drunk. The soldiers are drunk. I can't control them." He said, "You just leave in the morning. Don't stay here." The light was on already the rest of the night. They went away. They didn't do nothing to them, but the girls got scared. They saw Russian soldiers. They started screaming. I was so sick. I didn't know what goes on with me even. In the morning, we got up. They gave something. I had something to drink. I couldn't eat nothing. I was so sick. And the fever went away during the day. The fever went away. I went to the wagon to see my suitcase. My suitcase was gone. The Russians probably took them away. No suitcase. I asked the guys, "Where is my suitcase?" They don't know. Because suitcase, they don't know nothing. 2 Jewish men came. We stayed there a whole day yet in the camp. We didn't want to stay for the night, so 2 Jewish guys came. One was from Košice. The other I don't remember. He gave us his address. And he said, "Girls, come with us." So we went 200 girls. We went with the 2 guys.
Oh, the Greeks were Greek Jews.
Greek Jews, yeah. 200 girls went with. There were already others also, not only us 4. There was others also, Jewish girls from other. You think I remember? I know only we went to the next town. We went by foot. There was no train. I couldn't even. I was so tired. I had no fever anymore. I had that coat still from the camp. The coat I was schlepping with me. I threw them away. I couldn't carry nothing. Whatever I had, I threw away. I was left in a dress and with a jacket, a boy's jacket, a blazer, and I had ripped shoes, something, I don't know where I got those shoes. I threw everything away, not only me, everybody did it. And it was a Czech town, they were screaming on us, after us, "You left the stuff here, why are you leaving? Take your stuff." We didn't, we went. We went where it was the next train station. There were a train went because the bridges, they bombed the bridges, so it was a train couldn't go through. We went from one place to the other, stop, we had to go by foot, and again to another train. We went with those guys, I don't remember how far. We came to a Czech town where we were waiting for a train. This was already in Czechia. Everything was in Czechia. They took us into a school, and they brought something we should have what to lay, they brought blanket, they brought the Czech partisans came, and they helped us, and they gave everybody where to go to eat tomorrow, you know, where to divided us, where to go to eat. They gave us addresses where we should go to have lunch tomorrow. I was so sick, I remember, I never forget this. They gave me an address. I still was with those girls together, but my cousin separated someplace. I don't know where she left behind. Then we met again. And they gave me an address to a Czech person, to a woman, you know, to a family, to go to eat lunch. I got the address, I made it, I went there. She gave me a vegetable soup. I finished the vegetable soup, then she gave me macaronis with poppy seeds. I couldn't eat, you know. It was very good. It was good, fresh. It was sweet, you know. It made with sugar, with poppy seeds, with some fattening. She asked me, "Why don't you eat? It's no good. You don't like it." I said, "I can't eat. I don't feel good. I can't eat. I had the soup. I have enough. Thank you." Then we catch the train. The train was running right. They fixed the bridge, and we got the train. I went to a city, Žilina. This is near the Tatris. We went there. Also, the stationers, us, and also there was all over was already in the trains. They came out with music and with food. They checked. Everybody treated us very nice all the way. There, I was in Žilina. Also, they took us in a place. We stayed. Then I went away someplace. I don't know where I went. I was with my cousin. No, I wasn't with my cousin yet. She wasn't there yet. Later we met again. I went away someplace to look around. I come back. A man is waiting for me. He came and he asked if somebody's there from Bedevla. And they told him, yeah, a girl is here. And they told him even who I am. And this was a cousin of ours. He told me who he is. Right away I knew who he is.
What was his name?
Jaker. He was at your mother's wedding. I have a picture yet from your mother's wedding. He came to the wedding. So he saw me right away. He said, "You're not going to stay here, and you're coming to, I have an apartment here, come with me." He had already a girlfriend, not a girl, he was engaged already. And she was in the Tatris. He said, "I'm going to take you also to the Tatris, you stay with her there." I said, "I'm not going no place, I'm going home." Like he was thinking about himself. She thinks she's going to find somebody home.
Right. I have to change the tape, so.
Sitting in the place where they took us in Žilina with my cousin Jaker. Then a boy came in. Also, we went someplace. No, we went someplace away with him. He took me someplace for a walk. Then I'm coming back. I see there somebody's waiting for me. It's a Russian officer. He was in the Russian army, an officer, a boy from Bedevla, which I knew him. He also came in between all the girls to ask if somebody's there from Bedevla. So they told him yes. So he was waiting for me. Then he invited me I should come to him for dinner. Because he had a house, he lived in a house, and he had the servers, you know, he was an officer, a big officer. So of course my cousin said, "You're not going to go alone, I'll go with you." He told him, "Can I come with her?" He said, "Okay." He said, he's not going to let me go with him alone. So we went there. He prepared a very nice dinner. We had dinner, and he had a girlfriend home, so he gave me a letter with a picture I should take to his girlfriend. But he was home before me. So then my cousin Jaker, he said, "Come, I'll buy you a pair of shoes," because I had torn shoes. I didn't want to go. I said, "I don't want, I'm going home." He said, then he told me, he said, "You think your father is waiting for you, he's going to buy you shoes? Come, I'll buy you a pair of shoes." No, I didn't want it. I didn't go. I went home with those shoes. I slept over by him. He had a bed top, and I washed up. You know, he had a nice apartment there. I slept over by him. And in the morning, I don't remember one thing, because I remember I went with him on a train. Where I went with him in that train, I cannot remember. Maybe when we were going forwards with the train, he came with us. I don't know. We went, we stopped again, we slept over again someplace. Always was people who took us in, they gave us food, they gave us the Czechs were beautiful people. There is no such thing in the world like the Czechs, because they suffered also a lot from the Germans. And besides that, they were very nice people. We went farthest to Košice, and it was Friday afternoon. We had all the four of us. Now we were already 5 of us.
So you found your cousin again?
I found my cousin again. We were 5 of us. We went Friday afternoon to look for the address where that guy gave us to come to see him. We came to the house. He was there. His mother-in-law was there. His wife wasn't home yet. I don't know if she survived. They had small children. I don't remember. But I know he was there with his mother-in-law. And she prepared for Shabbos. He was a religious man. They gave us stuffed cabbage to eat. And they agreed that at night we should stay there for Shabbos. But of course we didn't want it. I said, I'm not staying. There is a train. We're going further. So we took the train Friday night. And we went to, from Košice, we went to Bedevla, Bereksas. In Bereksas, we took another train to Chop. To Chop was once a day when a train to our area. There was one train a day. And the train, nobody knew what time it's going or what it's doing. We were waiting for the station, for the train. Also we met people and we were waiting, we weren't alone. Finally the train came. It was full of Russian soldiers in that train. And we didn't want to go in we were afraid to go in with the Russian soldiers. I told you already once, I went on the roof of the train. How I went up, how I did it, I never know how we went up. My cousin didn't want to go up. She went in the train. Me and the 3 other girls, we went on the roof, and there was 2 guys also on the roof. Not Jewish guys, 2 goyim, but also on the roof, going, 2 or 3. We went slowly, it stopped by every station. It took very long till we got home. I was afraid, there was plenty room in the train. I didn't get up, but then it was, I knew in our town in Bedevla, the train stops for 1 minute. I can't go down from the roof in 1 minute. So I went down in Hust. It's the biggest station, Hust is a city. I went down from the roof and I stayed. I didn't go inside to the train. I stood in the foyer from the train. Then we went slowly, we stopped in Tjachov. In Tjachov, all of a sudden, a Jewish guy from Bedevla comes up in train, which I know him, Hershel Zalmanovich. A new life went into me because I didn't know what I'm doing and where I'm going. I was thinking I'll come to Bedevla. It was already late at night. We came in, it was 1 o'clock at night. So where I'm gonna go? I didn't know nothing, who's home already, who isn't. I didn't know where to go even. So I was alone already with my cousin just. The girls, they didn't go up the roof, they went till Teresva. And there was a small train which went to Kalin. So when that guy came in, he said he recognized me right away. He was living in Czechia, in Sudeten, in Teplice. He had a store there. But in the war, he came back home with his wife, with 2 children. But I knew them, the whole family. And he said, don't worry. He told me who's home already. I'm going to take you there. Don't worry, you're not alone. Don't worry. I came, he took me to a guy, Hershel Shmilovich. Later, he was married to my cousin. And he had a wife and children which he lost. He was also in the army working camp, in the Hungarian army working camp. So he was home already in January. Because our town was freed in January. So when I came to him right away, he told me, you know, some of you, this is your family, this is far cousins, but this is your family in Dibova. they were hidden and they survived. Who I knew Zaidi's grandmother, because she used to come always Kaiverus to her father in Elel for Rosh Hashanah, and she came always into us to the house to wash her hands and to have breakfast. It was every year. That's how I knew her. So I knew who they were, but I didn't know Zaidin. I didn't know who survived, who not. All right, he gave us a bed for me and my cousin. We slept through the night. I couldn't sleep through the night. I was waiting already, it should be daybreak. And I got up and I was running to the goy across the street from us where my mother left all the things. I came into the house. I don't know if they were happy to see me. Whatever she had, a lot of textile, because my mother used to go to Újvidék, this was Yugoslavia, but then also was occupied from the Hungary, to buy textile, and my father was dealing with textile already when it was already by the Hungarian, when he couldn't do nothing else, so he sold it at the Goyim in the town. So we had already textile to make dresses. We started sewing, I had already what to wear. So she gave me back everything. She asked me, where are your parents? I said, they coming too. What I'm going to tell her? I didn't know yet from my father. I knew that my mother, my sister, what happened, but I was hoping still that my father is alive. And so I was staying by the guy for a while, and then we decided we're going to Bucharest.
You never went into your house?
Yeah, I went into my house. But I didn't go looking yet for the earrings, for I didn't go yet. I knew where they were, but I didn't go yet. I don't know, it wasn't in my mind, this thing. So the guy tells me, let's go to Bucharest. So I said, okay. So I met another girl, she was from Jagev, not far from Bedevla. So with her and with my cousin Henda, and with Hershel Shmilovic, we're going to Bucharest. We stopped, we took the train till Berexas, I think, I don't remember. There, all of a sudden I see my Vetter Meyer. He gets off the train in Berexas.
Vetter's uncle, right?
My uncle in Israel. This was my father's sister's husband. I was running to him. He was a very religious man, but he grabbed me, he kissed me. If in this time you saw somebody, which I was very surprised. We were used to, we were trained like this, brought up like this. For an uncle, we took the hand and we kissed his hand. Let's say when we were little girls, this is how it was by us. And he grabbed me and kissed me, so, it was strange to me. He said, you coming to me, I live in Sighet, you're not going to Bedevla anymore. He said, I want you should come live with me. My sister is home too. I knew her sister, Ita, and you're going to come live with me. So I said, okay, but now I'm going to Bucharest first. So we went on another train to Kolozsvár, Klausenburg. We stopped again, we had to take another train. There I found a boy from Bedevla, which was our neighbor, but with his sister, he's not alive anymore, with his sister, somebody in contact. Even now, whenever I go to Israel, they come to see me, and I go to every time. So he was a big macher, and he said, you're not going to go with a train like this. There is a repeat train. I'm going to arrange the ticket, because who paid tickets? We went on the train. We didn't pay for the train, nothing. We just went, We were Holocaust survivors. Nobody asked us even if we have. So we went in that rapid train. He arranged for us tickets. We went, for all of us, we went from Kolozsvár till Bucharest. We went with that train. People were sitting that elegant dressed, and there was a dining room, dining car, and they were drinking. And we were like schnorrers, we looked like, everybody was looking at us, how you came to this to this train. This was a very expensive train. You know, we had tickets. He arranged tickets for us. We had tickets, you know. We came to Bucharest. Where should I go in Bucharest? So that Herr Shmilovic tell me, you know what? The Vizhnitzer Rebbe lives here. I'll take you, we'll find out where the Vizhnitzer Rebbe, he knew already because he was from January home here. The Vizhnitzer Rebbe, where he lives in Bucharest, we're going to find out. And I'll take you there. It was Friday. We arrived Friday. I don't know how we find out the address. We coming to the Vizhnitzer Rebbe. Friday. The Rebbetzin opened the door for us. When she saw me, she said, "Die bist Henny Gittel's Tochter." This means, you are the daughter from Henny Gittel. You look just like your mother. She recognized me. So she was very happy to see me. Where is your mother? Where is your father? So I said, you know, so I wanted, on the way, with that guy who arranged us the tickets to go to, with a rapid to Bucharest, he knew already that my father died. He told me.
Yeah.
He told me already. He knew already from people who were with him. So I was with the Rebbe's. All right, Friday night, we ate, there was a lot of people but the Rebbe. So the Rebbe had his separate dish, you know, when we ate, all the people, the men and the women together, you know, we were sitting by one table, we ate. And I was wondering, you know, Friday night, it was very strange to me. I saw the Rebbe's daughter. She talked Friday night before they went to shul. She talked to a boy. I don't know who that boy was. It was very new to the Rebbe's daughter. I slept with the two daughters in the same room, me and my cousin. There were two beds. She slept with her sister, and I slept with my cousin. We slept in the same room. Friday night we ate supper, everything. The men went to the Rebbe's dish, probably, I don't know. You know, it was I couldn't stay. It was very strange to me to stay by the Rebbe's. So in the morning, Shabbos, they went to shul, and I went away. We went with my cousin, we went away. We went away, and also not only my cousin, it was also that girl Vinyaga was with us. Yeah, she was also by the Rebbe. Let's go for a walk in Bucharest. We knew where we would be going. We didn't know where we were going. We were walking through the city, you know, everybody looked at us, how we were dressed, you know. And we were hungry. They said, we go into a restaurant, we'll have something. You know, we had a few lies were the lies. It was Shabbos, but you know, who kept Shabbos that time? So let's go to the restaurant, let's have a soup at least. We came into the restaurant, and there was a guy, nice dressed, you know, not a middle-aged man. Maybe he was with his wife, I don't remember. He right away said, "Are you girls from the concentration camp?" He said, "Sit down and eat with us," and he ordered for us a whole meal. We ate. We thanked him and we left. You know, they eat soup with mamaliga. And it was a nice dinner, you know, a nice lunch. I didn't go back to the Rebbe's until Shabbos night. I had there my things, I had to go back, and I didn't go back till Shabbos night. Shabbos night I came, so das Merungeti, you'd made me such a yisirim. I didn't know a whole day where you got lost. She said, you know, she left me food. I wasn't hungry, but I couldn't say that I ate in a restaurant, you know. So much cycle I had not to tell the Rebbetzin that I ate in Shabbos in a restaurant. I don't remember if I ate, I didn't eat, and I slept there another night, and Sunday we went to look for a place where to stay. I didn't want to stay there. We went to look for a place. Then that boy but arranged us the tickets to Bucharest, he came to Bucharest also Sunday. Sunday he came to Bucharest.
Why didn't you want to stay by the Rebbe?
I didn't want to stay. I felt uncomfortable. Why I didn't want to stay? Because I felt uncomfortable to stay by the Rebbetzin. So we went in, he took us someplace, we rented a place where we slept on the floor. But a woman someplace, she had an apartment, and we slept there on the floor. Okay, we had a mattress on the floor, and we slept on the floor. Me, my cousin, and that girl Vinyaga. That boy was after me. You know, even at home, he always was after me. I was young, me it wasn't had such a things that time, even I didn't think about it even, about a boy. I knew he is a boy from Bedevla, he was nice to me, he came, he arranged me the place where to stay, and he came at night, he stays Shabbos. It was Sunday night, I think, he stayed till late at night, we were sitting outside, it was so nice, and the Laguna was shining, and he left, and yeah, and then he said, all right, I want to take you tomorrow night to the Jewish theater. I said, okay, I'll go. We went the next night to the Jewish theater, and it was, I don't remember what play it was a Jewish show. I went with him. Then Zaidi came also to Bucharest. Yeah, then Zaidi came also to Bucharest. I knew already somehow that we are related. I don't know how. He asked me also out, I should go with him. I didn't want to go with him. I said, I'm not going. No, I'm not going. I don't feel like going. And I went with the other guy, and he saw, I didn't see this, he showed to somebody, you see, this is going to be my color, and me, that guy from Bedevla. I didn't know for nothing. And we stayed in Bucharest, we got, you know, I could have go to a doctor, I didn't go, went to a regular doctor, then the girl they sent to a gynecologist, I didn't want to go, I say, I'm not going, and I want to go home. I want to go back, we're going back. You know, they gave us 120,000 lei, which it was probably not, avoided nothing, and we stayed there a few days, and they said we should wait. They gave us also a suit, and they gave every girl a suit, for every man a man's suit, for every girl a girl's suit, and we should wait. I said, I'm not waiting, I don't...
Why did you go to Bucharest in the first place?
For the money.
Oh, you knew that they were giving out money.
I knew that we had something else to do. We went to Bucharest. I was in Bucharest. And then we went home, so Zaidi gave me the address when his father and his sister, they had a restaurant in Grozvedan. Because we went from Bucharest again, he arranged the tickets to go back to Klosenborg, Kolozsvár, and there we took the trains and we went to Grozvedan. So, and we were in, with that girl, what I say I met Fenyage was a first cousin for that boy, what I'm telling you, that Bedevla boy. So I think he told her something, because she tells me like this. All of a sudden she tells me, you know what, she said, Moshe wants to get married, he doesn't want to wait long, he wants to, what do you say? So I said, what I'm saying I'm not ready to get married, Moshe is not my boyfriend, I am not ready, I'm not going with nobody, I'm not ready to get married, I just came home, I don't know what's going to be, and that's what I answered. So he told them probably, he knew already that. I didn't see him till Israel. In Israel I saw. So, Zaidi gave me the address from his father with the girls. You know, where they had a restaurant, they weren't married yet, you know, they were single girls also. And I had a cousin from my mother's side, but she lived also in Grozvedan, and I knew where she lives. I don't know how I find out all these things, don't ask me, because I don't know. I knew everything, I don't know nothing. So we came to Grozvedan, so we went to there. So they were thinking that we came into the restaurant, I think, the girls. And I felt very bad. They didn't even ask me to sit down. They didn't even ask me. The father came over, and he knew where we were, and we were talking to him, but the two girls didn't even ask me, you know, sit down, or where are you, or what, nothing. So I said...
You learned about Cyril and Leitcha?
Cyril and Leitcha. So I say, you know what, I said, I told this to Zaidi. I said, you know what, I'm going to my cousin Esther, and I'll stay there. Take me there. He took me there.
Zaidi was there also?
Yeah, he was there. He came back from Bucharest. He took me there to Esther, and I stayed there. I don't remember how long I stayed there. Okay, I went home. I packed myself. I went to Szeged to my uncle. So I had to go, there was no trains to go like this. There was Romania, outside was Czechia at that time. So there was the Tisa, but I told you the Tisa was the border for Romania, from Carpathia to Romania. So there was those little ships, those little boats, There was a guy, I paid him. And I was with my cousin, we went on this boat, he took us over the Tisa to the other side. And I came into a Jewish house, and I said, can I sleep over here, and we're going to go, we see in the morning how we could take something, we'll find something to go to Sigurd. So okay, fine, they gave us to eat, they gave us a bed to lay down, to rest, and all of a sudden I said, no, let's go outside. No, I saw somebody came a wagon with horses, but also two guys. They were riding, they stopped there to feed the horses or something, so I figured, let me go ask them if they're not going to Sigurd. I go down and ask him if they're not going to Sigurd. He said, yes. I said, you want to take us? We'll pay you. He said, yes, we'll take you, we pay them. So we couldn't make it till Sigurd, it was already late afternoon. We came to the town, was before Sigurd, Charda, it was a Romanian town. So he took us into the mayor of that town. They slept, I don't know, maybe they slept in the barn or where with the horses, I don't know. He took us in there, and also we paid for the woman that she should give us a bed to sleep over. I had some money, I don't know, I had already money, I sold things when I came back. There was a big marsan from where my father used to keep his apples, there was not apple, there was apple and apple, the marsan was twice so big than this, but 3 times so big than this living room. So I had some money already. So we coming early morning. They got up very early morning because they went to sell something on the, how you call it, on the mark. How you sell it?
Market.
On the market. And the market's not on the market, but when they should be early in the morning there. So they dropped us off someplace in Sigurd. I had an address. We started looking where my uncle lives. It was early in the morning, very early in the morning. His sister was still sleeping. He was probably in shul, or maybe he wasn't home. I don't remember what it was, because another man, I told him, we got already the address. He was up, and he said I knew him. I didn't know him, but later I knew who he was, and I told him who I was. He knew right away. He said he gave us right away a coffee with a piece of bread. He said, later you'll go into your uncle. I went into my uncle. There was the sister, and I brought some textiles. She was a dressmaker. He was sewing things for us. So then I found a sewing machine by us in the house. It was a sewing machine. So I told her about it. So she said, you know what, let's go to Bedevla and bring the sewing machine here. I'm not going to take the whole sewing machine with the table. I'm going to just take out the machine. So we went. Did we go by train that time already? I don't remember. We came for the day, we came to Bedevla, we took out the sewing machine, and we went back to Sigurd. Also, I didn't feel comfortable there. My uncle was very religious, and she told me stories. She said, she had a sister, but she died in Transnistria. The remaining Jews, they took to Transnistria. So the sister died, and the husband with the children survived. So the brother, my uncle, wants her, she should marry the brother-in-law, because of the children, the children shouldn't be orphans. And she was crying. She said, I want a boy, I don't want a married man, I don't want a man with children, but what should I do? No, what was I able to tell her? I knew what to tell her. I was 18 years old. So we brought the machine, we were sewing, I helped her. And I stayed there 2 or 3 weeks, that's all. Then I said to my cousin, I'm not staying anymore. You want to stay, I'm going back to Bedevla. I want to see who came home yet. When I heard that my cousin Henda came and other people came, I say, I feel uncomfortable here. What I'm doing here, I had nothing to do there. Shabbos, they used to go for shears. They used to. She was a very educated girl. She used to say Peirik in Jewish. She used to translate Peirik in Jewish. She knew. She was a Basianka teacher. And I said, no, I'm going back. I come back. I found already Henda, and I found other girls. I said, you know what? Let's move into my uncle's house. He had a new house that time, but he just built before maybe a year before they took us away. So we move out in this house. One Jew came back, who he said he knew who our furniture took. We took a truck and we went. This was in Tchachov. We went into her house and we took out all the furniture, all the dishes, everything she took from our house away. Not pictures. Pictures I couldn't find. I found the furniture. I found the blankets, the pillows, those things. I found.
You walked into her house and took everything.
We walked in.
There.
We emptied out her house in no time. We took to Goyim, but they took out the furniture. It was a bedroom, a horrible. You know, we had 2 bedroom sets, but the other one I don't know where it was. But this was where I slept and my sister. It was a new bedroom set, not new, but it was the newer. And it was a big kitchen closet, kitchen...
Cupboard.
No, kitchen cabinets for dishes, for things. They didn't make in the wall those days. They made a kitchen. A big, we took this, it was a couch, it was 2 beds, 2 closets, a table with the chairs, with all the dishes, I'm telling you. I don't even know, we didn't cash the dishes, we didn't need trife anymore, but we didn't cash the dishes, but we used it. What should we do? So, we didn't use trifles, we didn't kill, but I don't know, we kept milchig separate and fleischig separate, but it was kosher, it wasn't probably. We went to kill to the shoichet. There was a shoichet in the Tage, killed a chick. And I came back to Bedevla and we set up, we arranged the house. They had a closed terrace where we put a stove there, and we cooked in that stove because that house was divided in 2 parts, which they rented. One guy was living in one part of the house. It was a big house. The other part, we had 2 big rooms, and we had the terrace we made the kitchen, 2 tremendous big rooms, which it was enough for us. Later, her brother came home, Paul, and he brought a boy with him, a Polish boy, and he started up with me, And I said, first I went along with him a little, here and there. And then I said for Paul, I don't want him here anymore. I don't want he should be here. I don't even know where they slept. I don't remember where they slept because we had 2 beds, so it was for us 3 girls. And there was a couch, so where it slept on the couch, I didn't even remember. All right, he left. And we stayed, and I was running. We went every time to the orchard to pick apples, to pick pears, to pick plums, to pick cherries. We had fruit so much, and I was running. We were running around, and I hurt my foot. I couldn't walk. It was a Shoshuna. Then I met already Saidin. I met in Bucharest.
You went back to Bucharest?
No. I just met him like this, that in Grozodam we left, and then he came back once, I think. I don't remember exactly. Maybe he came back once. He was in Deba when he came back once, but nothing yet. Nothing. He had to come for a Shoshuna. The train came in very late. I don't know why he changed his mind. His cousin came back, and he sent me a pair of shoes. I mean, he didn't have my measurement, but they were good. He sent me a watch.
I did it.
But yeah, he sent me a watch, and he sent me a red belt, a leather belt, a red, with that cousin. And that cousin came and he told me, he said, I don't know, he said, Shloim is running around with girls in Budapest. He said to me like this. I didn't, it wasn't yet that I felt something. I was, I'm going to tell you further, I wasn't in love when we got married, maybe yes already, but when he proposed to me, I had It was just I wanted to have a place and a home, you know. It was a short time. I couldn't fall in love so fast. So he didn't came for Rosh Hashanah, but after Rosh Hashanah right away he came, and he started coming already more often. For Yom Kippur he was in Bedevla. He stayed with us. We went to a house. There was already they had a minyan. We girls was sitting, you know, in a separate room davening, and he took me to Dibba already. So he came a few times, and then I walked him to the train going back. So this was the first time when he proposed to me, and I told him right away yes. And this was the first kiss he gave me. He went on the train to Dibba, and I went back home. And then he came already, he stayed, and after Yontif, after Sikkis, again after Sikkis, it was the day after Simchas Torah, we left Bedevla. So that guy Shmilovic was with my cousin. He proposed to her, and she said yes. And me and Zaidi, and my cousin Henda. We went again to that boat. What time is it? Want to stop?
Okay, we'll stop here.
We'll stop here. What time is it? Okay. So this was after Simchas Torah. Before we left, we went to look. I remember that when my father was hiding my mother's earrings in the ring. So Zaidi and another guy in Bedevla helped him. They dig the whole basement, and they couldn't find it. So I gave up already. I said, forget it. But then the day before we left, Zaidi went again, and he just went over and he found it right away. So this was it. Then we left. I had some things. I had my mother's slachters, candlesticks, but I had them already put in the thing what we took, how you say, a rucksack?
A knapsack.
A knapsack. A knapsack. We had it already in the knapsack. The last minute I took it out and I left this by a person there, by a guy who I left all the other things what I didn't took with me. I didn't take nothing, just personal things. We took just the clothes what we had, that's all, and we left. We took a boat, and we went with the boat to, again, through the Tisa, because at that time already we knew that it's not Czechia, that it's already, it's going to be Russia, Soviet Union, so we didn't want to stay there. So, but they had an agreement, the Czechs with Russia had an agreement that people who want to live in there, they're going to need adoption papers, that the Czechia is adopting them. So we didn't have this yet, but we were planning to go to get it. So we left with the boat. So I went through with Zaidin. We went through because he had papers. It was already stricter by the border. And my cousin with her fiancé, they didn't let him go first. And then with my cousin came with me, I think. And then they went also through. We met us in Remich. We were waiting for them, and we went to Sigit to my uncle. So we were planning, I said, we're going to come to my uncle, we're going to make a Noyem. We should go away with Noyem. And I came to my uncle, he said, Noyem doesn't mean nothing. He said, you have to get married, not Noyem. So I said, forget it. So then my cousins, Henda, not my first cousin, this is Henda. She had a sister and a brother, and they met also in Sigit, and they came with us. So we went all the way. We went with a truck. They took us to the next day. We slept over by my uncle. The next day morning, we went away to Sakmer. We slept over in Sakmer in a hotel. And then we went to Groesverdan. There was the Zijde and Ziel met Leitje. They were married. No, Ziel wasn't there already. Leitje was married. Ziel left before she got married, and she left also. they went away to Belgium. So we came there, we stayed for a Shabbos, and the next Sunday morning we left. We're going to Budapest. We went to Budapest, we went on train, we went to Bratislava. From Groznodan we went to Bratislava. From Bratislava we went to Budapest. I don't know how we went from Groznodan to Bratislava. I don't remember exactly. But we took a train, we went to Budapest. So we went in, Zaidi had partisan papers. He said that I'm his wife. So we went in with the Russian, there were Russian soldiers also. We went in, and also my cousin with her fiancé and my other cousin, we went in a regular train, you know, not in the cattle trains, we went in a regular passenger wagon. I don't know, we had some things, so I don't know what they meant, those Russians wanted to take away the stuff and us, so he started bothering me. And he started bothering me, bothering my other Henda. And then there was a Jewish officer, a Jewish Russian, so he said, listen to me, get off at the next station. It's the best thing you could do, don't start up with them. So the train, it came the next station, the train started going slower, so we jumped from the train before it stopped. We threw out the things what we had and we jumped, all of us. And we came to a station, the train came to a station, so we went in a cattle wagon. Already. We went to Budapest. We went to Budapest, there was a special place for Holocaust survivors, where they gave us place to stay. We stayed in Budapest about a day too. I don't remember exactly. We stayed then, we wanted to go back to Bratislava. So we went already to the cattle train. We didn't take chances already to go between the Russian soldiers. We stopped in Debrecen, we stopped in another place, and we came to Bratislava. In Bratislava, we had to go to Prague because they had to make adoption papers. We had to have adoption papers. We should be able to come into Czechia. So my cousin, this was the younger sister of Henda, Raizel. She had an address for a relative, but he lived in Orlova. So we had to take the train to Orlova. All of a sudden came, this was police, stopped us, and they asked for papers where we coming from, where we are. We had some papers to show that where we coming. So he said, do we have adoption papers? No, we're going to Prague to get it. He said, no, you're going back to Carpathia. They didn't let us. So they said we had to buy tickets to Chop. And they put us in a train, but went to Chop, but stopped in Orlova. So of course they didn't come with us. We went down in Orlova. It was the middle of the night. We went looking for the address what my cousin had, and we found it in the middle of the night. We woke him up and we went there, we stayed there. The next morning, Zaidi with Herrscher Shmilovic, they went to Prague, and we stayed there. We remained there to wait. They went to make the adopting papers. They were there for a day or two, I don't remember. They came back, but Herrscher Shmilovic found a cousin, but he had an apartment in Liberec, Czechia. So he was a soldier, he was a zahraniční voják, this means a soldier, you know, like let's say he was in the working camp, in the Hungarian working camp. He was freed, so he was in a place, so he was captured, I don't know, but General Svoboda made an army, a Czech army, so he was in that army. So he got all the privileges, and so he got a nice apartment, a big apartment. So they came back from Prague and they said they have a place, we're going to go to Liberec, we have where to stay, we're going to go in that apartment, all of us. So it was Zaidi and me, and it was Herrscher Shmilovic with Henda, and it was Henda's brother and Henda's sister, and my cousin, Henda. So we went to that apartment. It was a very nice apartment, fixed up, beautiful, everything. It was a 3-room apartment with a kitchen, with So we had where to stay. Meanwhile, they started, you know, had to make some living, you know, so Zaidi, we weren't married yet, so Zaidi and that Herschel, they bought like old clothes and they took it to Kasho, to Slovakia, and they brought back cigarettes, American cigarettes, and they sold American cigarettes and they made money on this. And it went on also for quite a while. Then, in that apartment, this was a German's apartment, and we went on the attic, and there we found a lot of things. We found a lot of clothes, suits, dresses, a lot of stuff. We took out everything, so we had already what we needed. Then one day, they went also, it was something, they went also away. They used to go like in the Sunday night and come back Thursday night. Zaidi with Herschel Schmilovic. They made business, this was business, you know, this is how they made a living that time. And somebody told the police on them. It was a Shabbos after lunch, the police comes in and said, they came to search the house, that we had cigarettes in the house. But we didn't have cigarettes. Yeah, there was one, I think there was a cigarette, something, but not a lot, American cigarette. They found a cigarette. And it was in the afternoon. My cousin went in bed, lay down in bed. The Herschel Schmilovic, when I was in the house, he went out because the toilets were outside in the hallway. You know, it was like there was a few apartments, so it was one toilet. So he saw already that those people came in, so he didn't show himself. See, they wanted to take Zaidi away. So I said, if they taking, he said, I'm his wife. We weren't married yet at that time. So I said, no, you're not, if you take him, I go with him. You know, I wanted they should take the cigarettes and leave. So this is what, they took the cigarettes and they left. So my cousin went into the bed, we had money in the house, so she took the money and she took it in bed with her. All right, they didn't go so far, they should check in her bed, she was laying in bed. So they didn't find the money. And this went on for a while, till we decided it's already time we should get married. Because, you know, we lived all together. Her sister and brother went away to Germany. The sister got married in Germany. The brother went also away to Germany. My cousin Henda, this I forgot to say, when we went from Szeged to Sakmer, she decided all of a sudden she's not going because her brother remained in Bedevla. She went back to Bedevla and she didn't come with us. So she wasn't there. It was only me and Zaidi and Herschel and Henda. And then we took an apartment also. Some Jewish people left. It was not a nice apartment. We took that apartment and we got married. The wedding was together, both couples. We made one wedding. Zaidi always said we had one chicken for the wedding. I mean, it was a lot of people, it was other things. You know, we had a lot of cakes, we had a lot of sweet stuff, we had a lot of brothel, a lot of wine, beer. This was no problem, but it was no meat, you know, it was no kosher meat. So we had one.
And when was that?
Maybe it was 2 chickens. What?
And when was that? Your wedding?
It was in February 17, 1946, we got married. So Laichu came to the wedding and she cooked whatever we had, prepared after. After the wedding, we came home, just the immediate family, we had dinner. And then it was in my apartment already. We lived there for a while, and then one of our friends, of Zaidi's friends, went away to America. He left us, so we took his apartment. There was a very nice apartment. We lived downstairs and this was upstairs. It was a very fixed up apartment in those days with electricity, with hot water, with a boy, you know, we could make hot water and not to shower because we used to go to beds to shower, to bathe, but to wash dishes, things like this. It was hot running water if I wanted to make. I just didn't electricity. We didn't pay electricity. We used electricity here and there, and it was a very nice living room. It was a beautiful piano was there, and beautiful furniture, and a vacuum cleaner I had, a rock, and it was a nice fixed up apartment. So we lived there till we went away not to Israel. So Zaidi was doing, what was he doing in Liberec? They were still smuggling, I think. They were still smuggling, and then they stopped, and then he went to Teplitz, and he went to work for in a butcher store, and we decided we're going to be moving. The Zaide already, you know, the Zaide had the kosher meat, and Zaidi was working for somebody in a store. And then he applied to get a butcher store, and because he had partisan papers, they gave him a butcher store, a fixed butcher store, everything, with an apartment, but we didn't go, we never moved into that apartment. We made the people move, the previous owner, he should move in the apartment, but we never moved in. We had another apartment. So still, it wasn't a kosher store, it was a treffener store, but it was the kosher meat the Zaide was taking care in the back. It was a nice store, and we had a guy who we made the salamis, he made all the cold cuts, everything he made himself. He was very handy man. Shabbos, I didn't go to the store, he went to shul. And somebody else he had a man who stayed in the store. The store was open, but the whole business, most of the business was Shabbos in the Goyish stores. So till the end, we had that store. And meanwhile, all of a sudden, they called him to the army. He was the age, they called him to the army. So it was a lot of problems still with something with money. Some person took care of it, and I remember it was before Christmas, and he came home, he said, I have to go to Prague, and he gave me over everything. You go to the store, and you have to take care of everything. Gittel was a small baby, she was a year old maybe that time. It was winter, we had heat.
So you skipped.
What?
You skipped you gave birth to a baby. When was she born?
Oh, I skipped I skipped a lot of things. Okay. I got pregnant, Gittel was born in 1947, 9/11, 1947. She was born in Teplitz. I got pregnant in Liberec, but when we moved, and she was born. At that time, Zil lived in Belgium. She came to me, she helped a little bit, and me and Zaidi, we were bathing her together. We helped each other, because what did I know to a baby? I was thinking always, what am I going to do? She will be born. I have no idea what to do with a baby. But everything comes when...
You gave birth to her in the house or in the
hospital?
In the hospital.
Gave birth in the hospital. The hospital, it was 2 days before Rosh Hashanah. And then Yom Kippur, I was breastfeeding her. Yom Kippur, I was fasting, and I called, we had a neighbor, a Jewish neighbor, and they had a daughter, she should come babysit. I should go only for Yisker. I went only for Yisker. I was fasting, and the next day I didn't have what to give her to eat. I don't know what happened. And then I came back, and I was breastfeeding at 3 months, that's all. I couldn't breastfeed. It wasn't easy, we had to prepare the food, we had to cook the bottles, prepare. It wasn't easy like it is today. Wash diapers by hand. And then when I had a gypsy, a girl she came every day, but she went home to sleep. And she helped me, with the baby, with everything. She took her for a walk. She was like a maid, but she wasn't sleeping in the house. There was no problem with money, those days to pay for a maid. It was very cheap. And the store was very good. Also, they made business in the stores. They made what he wasn't allowed to make, you know. It was everything rationed also. And he made, you know, with the guys when they killed the cows. I used slaughterhouse.
Slaughterhouse, yeah.
In the slaughterhouse, he paid them off, and they gave him more meat. They gave him more everything, and you know, and he gave to the customers how much they wanted. And so he made money on this. But I was very afraid, you know. Because when it was already by the communists, I was standing outside looking. He used to go with the bike to the store on the bicycle. And when he came home, he gave me a sign, you know, a whistle, if nobody's in the house, you know. This is how we were afraid, because it was ready by the communists, you know. Any little thing, they arrested you. And so that time when he went, they called him to the army, so Gittel was already more than a year old. It was in the winter. She was born in September. It was the year after. So I took her with me to the store, and it was cold. I had a kitchen, but the store, it was a kitchen, was heat, you know, was heat, and I could leave her there with the carriage, but she didn't want to stay there with the carriage. I had to take her into the store. I was cutting meat in the store. You know, it was very busy. It was before Christmas. It was very busy, and she was crying, and I didn't know what to do with myself. All right, and they fixed it. He didn't go to the army, and then we started applying papers to go to Israel. So till it came, we didn't want to go right away. We went in, it was Schwyz. Schwyz we were, so we left before we were in May. I think it was in May. We came to it.
What year?
We got permission to go. It was a group transport already. They didn't give us an extra passport. They gave us already just a group passport, and we went to we had to go to Prague. So everything we packed. We packed a big lift, a big container. We packed a big container. I'm telling already when we went to Israel. We packed a big container till we got permission for all these things. I went to Sinadlabem. I gave for the guy a golden watch, and I put on, I don't remember how much, 1,000 kronas. So he said, no, you're not going to. So I said, look, I cannot take, they not allow me to take the gold watch, so what I'm going to do with it? You take it. You know, it was mine, a gold watch. I gave him money. He should give me permission to take. What he gave me permission, no electrical things, no electric, what we had, a radio we were allowed to take. A radio, and I think that's all. Just a marriage band. I put in my heels and the shoes. I put
in the heels.
In the heels, I put the diamond earrings in the ring. And you put money in the heels, and your shoes were money in the heels, dollars.
And Gittel's Keitele?
Yeah, she had Lamigred, not all of us. And this was already in the train. I'm not in the train yet. So Zaidi left early in the morning to Prague, and I had to wait for people because I should give him over the apartment, you know, because the apartment was now, this was from the
government.
From the government something, you know, they gave, because there was furniture, it was a private owner to that house, but the furniture. So Gittel was crying, she was a baby, and I was alone, and I didn't, so he said, what kind of husband you have? He left you alone with the baby. And all right, and then in the afternoon, I didn't have, he took everything with him, just left the carriage. I had just the carriage, and I had the baby, and a few things. So the owner from the house helped me to go to the station, helped me, and I took a second class ticket, and I went to Prague. Zaidi was waiting for me. We came to Prague. We slept over in a hotel in Prague. The next day we went away. So we went to Austria. Train. This was a special train arranged. You know, we didn't have to change trains. So we had also a whole. You know, the second class trains, I don't know if here is the same thing. There was a whole cabinet for us. So I had with Zaidi with the baby. I had thermos bottles, a lot of thermos bottles, because I took thermos bottles with water, with hot. I should be able to. But I had with me a Primus. What is this? What I was able to boil water.
Something to cook with.
Yeah, and I put it in the thermos bottles, and I had milk. You know, milk they gave us in the train. They had also.
And just what year is this?
It was in 1949. In 1949. So we went with the train till Vienna. In Vienna, the Austrian, they took over the same train, but the locomotive took over the Austrian government, you know. So it was some anti-Semit. And he shaked with the train that all my thermos bottles broke. They fell off, and they all broke. But I don't know how we came to Italy. And there in Austria, we went to it. There was a dining room already in Austrian train. I didn't even go in. Zaidi went in with Gitlen. I didn't go in. Even I said we had plenty of food. We took along. I didn't want to go. And we came to Italy, to a town. It was a bigger town, Trani.
Let's pause here. I have to change tapes.
We came to Italy, to a town called Trani. It was nice stores there. It was a big town. It wasn't a city, but it was a nice town. We stayed there for 2 weeks waiting for the ship to go to Israel. The ship went from Bari. It was, we had to go again by train to Bari. So we stayed 2 weeks there. It was nice. We went shopping there. A lot of things we bought to take to Israel, what he said. Yet we could take what's needed in Israel. And then we went to Bari, to the ship, 2 weeks later, which it was a military ship, that's Maut. It was a real bad ship. It was also like 3 bunk beds, one on the other. I think we were on the bottom, I don't remember. And it took 3 days to come to Haifa. In the 3 days, the most of the time I was sitting on the deck because I was very nauseous. And then it was Schwyz, so we had to, they didn't unload the ship on Schwyz, and Schwyz was Friday and Shabbos. It was 2 days, so we had to wait till Sunday till they took us off the ship. So we were sitting 2 days in Haifa on the ship. They play Jewish songs, you know, and it was okay. So then finally Sunday morning, they came. It was to me, they came in shorts. All the police came in shorts, you know, in Israel. Now you don't see it. They don't go anymore in shorts, the police. It was very hot. It was in Schwyz time, there is the biggest Hamsimim. And they took us to a quarantine place, St. Luke's. Till we went through all the paperwork, everything. And you weren't allowed to go out from there because it was a quarantine. They gave us needles, they checked us, we were waiting from there. They should send us to Beit Olim. So Gittel got very sick there, diarrhea with fever. And I didn't know what to do. I went to the infirmary and they say they're gonna put her in a hospital. And I didn't want that. So Zaidi had a cousin in Haifa, Suri. I think you didn't know her? Okay. So we knew her, so we sneaked out because we weren't allowed to leave. Zaidi and I and the baby, we sneaked out from St. Luke's. The Zaidi remained, he was with us. He remained in St. Luke's, and we went away to Suri. And I went to a doctor there. Right away she took me to her pediatrician because she had also children, and gave her medication, and it went away. She felt better. She was trained already. She was 1.5 years old, but I needed diapers again. She had such a bad diarrhea that it was terrible. So once I'm going back in Italy, we had also like a lamp where we cooked, you know. I prepared food for her, so I had to with alcohol to. It was an alcohol, benzene, alcohol.
Kerosene, probably.
Kerosene, maybe. She took and she drank it. So I had a bottle of milk, and right away she just maybe licked it. But she started crying, so I took the bottle of milk right away and gave her the milk, and I went to the doctor, but nothing happened. It was everything all right. So there I stayed with Surin a few days. She didn't let us go away, and then we went back to St. Luke's. The Zaide was there in our room. He was a soldier that time, and he came to see us.
He was already in Israel.
He was already in Israel. He came to Israel from Cyprus.
From where?
In Cyprus.
Oh, Cyprus, yeah, okay.
Cyprus, when he came illegally. So where was he? I don't remember. Where was Avram when he came to...
Cyprus.
No, but where was he before Cyprus?
Where was he? In Deutschland. Germany.
In Germany he came by ship. I don't think so.
By ship?
Yeah, when they
The ship came from Israel.
I did it. You see, he's not good for them. You're not going to get out too much. He came from, I don't remember from where.
From America?
No, when he came to Israel the first time.
When he came to Israel the
when
first
he called
time,
him and he went to Cyprus.
He
When
went
they called the ship. From where he came? From Austria? Or from Belgium? From Austria?
from Germany, from Austria.
I don't know. So he came illegally and they caught the ship and they sent all the people to Cyprus. So then he came into Israel. It was already 1949. It was already, Israel was already...
48, we came 48.
In 1949 we came.
He was in the army at that time already.
You lost my friend.
He was in the army already.
Let me talk. So he came and he tried because there was very better Betolims, where there was less people and was better condition. And there was very bad ones also. There was a lot of people in very bad condition. So we went to Agrobank. It's the place there where Gittel bought the house now. There we were in Betolim, Hadera, Agrobank. So this was a very good place. We stayed there and Zaidi started running around with Avromen to look for he wanted to go only to Moshav, to look for Moshavim where it was somebody he knew, somebody who lived there he knew, so he went to look those places. Finally we went to the Moshav, but there's a new development. But, we lived...
To Benaya.
It was Yevna Drumit that time, but they just built the houses, and when we went up there was no houses yet. We lived in tents. The wind came at night, it was winter, and the wind with the rain blew away the tent. And we stayed in the tent we went after the Entoim, I think it was. Yeah, we went up there and we stayed till January. I remember this very good. January 1st we moved in the little houses what they built, was one room and a little kitchen.
Where was this in Israel?
Benaya.
Yevna Hadromit. It was near Yavna, near Kvutzat Yavna, near Yavna, Rehovot area.
Okay.
Now it calls Benaya. So when we went in already in the houses, it was already good, we had already a house. So what else should I tell you? How we lived in Israel. We lived okay. It was hard from the beginning, was very hard. I worked from the beginning I didn't because we didn't do nothing. So they gave us a cow. The first cow, an American cow, we gave her a name Shoshana, we called her. So we had already milk.
And you had a field? You had
A
land?
field we had, but we didn't work on the fields yet. Zaidi went to work to a kablan in Gadera. Gadera. So he made 60 pounds a month, which was a lot of money. We were able to live very nice on that. First, when we came to the Moshav, they were still working on the little houses, so they gave us $2.40 a day pounds. They had pounds that time. 2 pounds and 40 cents a day. Not the money. They gave us coupons. We were able only to go in the Tzarfania to buy the food. But it was, I don't know, we had enough. I had enough. We went out to buy a chicken sometimes, you know, and it was enough. They gave us ration, they gave us meat, frozen meat. And I bought in the Tzarfania and it was enough. And then Zaidi started working, he made 60 pounds a month, which was a very nice salary. And we had a cow, we had already, I think, chicken, I don't know, you know, we had already turkeys, we had already. Then we decided he stopped working, we're gonna work on the milk field, we're gonna, on the magic. So we got more cows, we bought cows, we bought, the most of, all of them we bought. And we had already more cows, and we had a little bit chicken. We had already eggs, we had already meat our own, we had already everything. So we started working on we made vegetables. The most vegetables was cucumbers, tomatoes, and paprikas. This is what we made. This was the main thing. We made also other things. We made also the peanuts, you know. Peanuts, no. So the Amerikaner Nisslach, how they call it. We made, and we made also beans, we made all kind of different things, but this was nothing. This was the mostly was cucumbers, tomatoes, and peppers. This was the most. Then we got another piece of field sand, which is, they called it...
End of the quad.
They called this Leichterboden, how you say this, you know, it wasn't mud, it was sand.
Okay.
So there we were able in February already to plant. To February till March, April, May it was finished, the season was finished, and there we made money. Because I used to go and bring a wagon of children from the Mavara. There was a Mavara, but Iraqis. And after school, he went up and brought a full wagon of them, maybe 20 pieces, and they were picking the tomatoes and the cucumbers and everything. And I sorted it, I put it in the baskets, and we sent it to the Tnua. And this was very good. It was a good producer. And then they started, the Zaide went to Israel. He lived in Yam. You know, I'm not going to go into everything. I could say 2 days and talk. So he started...
Zaide went to America.
The Zaide went to America. So he started, we should come.
What year was that?
Zaide went about 2 years before. We came in 1958. When the Zaide went in 56. Rita was born in 55. He was still there in 56. He went away. And we should come, we should
You skipped the birth of your daughter again.
What?
You skipped the birth of your daughter again.
Yeah, my daughter. So I said she was born in November 13, 1955. We wanted to go that time in the Moshav. We sold already the whole raffet, everything. And then we decided we're not going. We started buying again. We filled up the raffet again after Rita was born. And Zaidi was very happy. It's another girl. He has a name from his mother. So I was expecting a boy. I should have my father a name. The mother had already a name, but Leitschon and but Leitschon and but Sirlen already too. But Sirlen, but Leitschon and but Mechel. So, but it was another girl. Those days we didn't know what it is. Still it wasn't born. There was no... And so we stayed in Moshav again till 1958. We got a visa. They called us from the American Council that they issued the visa. We should come to, you know, to swear in. And it was expired, it was like beginning of the year, I think, and the visa was still
July 8th.
July 9th, 1958. And we went for the visa, we went to swear in, everything was fine, everything, but we still weren't ready to go. We didn't want to go. Going, yeah, going, nicht going. But finally, the last, when we left Israel, July 8th, and we arrived here
July 9th.
July 9th, when the day
It expired.
And it was a hard time here too. It wasn't easy. We were very sorry that we came because we had it good already in the Moshav, you know. It was no problem. We had money. We had everything. Yeah. Pernusa, it was no problem. We came here. We don't know English. We don't know nothing. He doesn't have a job. Looking here and there, cannot find a job. I went to work. I think I went to work before you. I went to work for that was $1 a day in a pocketbook factory. It was across the street where we lived. It wasn't far, so I went there and I stayed there 8 years. I worked in that place.
Moved right to Borough Park?
Yeah, right in Borough Park.
Then
I got raises, little raises, but it was good. And then Zaidi worked, and also he found it wasn't easy to find a job. Then he found in New York, and he worked for Goldberg's. He worked for 15 years.
That was the Lower East Side?
The Lower East Side, yeah. It was the only really kosher store in whole New York. Wouldn't say there were a few small stores in Williamsburg maybe, but all those stores, were plain trifle. It's not like it's now, you know. It's everything packed meat and glad kosher. So he worked there for 15 years, then he got sick. He had a heart attack. Then it started, so he stopped working, and then he went back to work, and I worked for 8 years in that factory, and then one summer, I heard from somebody that he could go for a key punch course. You know, it was on the cars, we worked on the car, there wasn't computers. It was computers,
What
the
course?
cars went in the key punch.
Oh, key punch, okay.
Key punch course. So we worked on, I went for that key punch course, and I passed it, and it was okay, they gave me right away a job. Robert Halls. I stayed there 1 year. I didn't make money there. They started something, I don't even know but how much. Those days, you know, you didn't, but more than the factory. I worked there for 1 year, and after a year, Hannah went to a summer job. She looked for a summer job. She was already in college that time. So she found a summer job in Brooklyn, in 2nd Avenue. And she came home and she told me, you know, that they're working there on key punch cars. So I asked her, maybe they need somebody. I hated to travel to New York. I didn't want to go to New York. So she asked, and there was a guy, a Jewish guy, but the manager in the key punch department. He said, let your mother come in. And I came in, and right away they hired me. So I worked there, but it was on cards. We punched cards, and the cards went into the computer. They had their own computer. It's not like today, the computers with the internet. And then later came already a new system with the screens, with the computers with the screens, but still we worked on computers, but it was just attached to their computer. The screens were attached to their computer, so we did everything. I did the billing the most of the time, it was my job, the billing. And I worked there for 27 years. In that place, the pay wasn't great, but it was easy for me because I went by car and I had a parking. I paid for the parking, and then later I didn't have already a parking. I had to look for a parking, but still was convenient for me. I always said, I'm going to look to New York, because I didn't let me. I always say, where are you going? You have here a job, you go with the car, you have no problems. I say, you may be right, you're right. One day, when I got older already, they took advantage of me. He didn't want to give me a raise anymore. He gave for the whole office a raise, and they didn't give me. There was other few people, not too much, 2 or 3 people, but he didn't want to give a raise because he took advantage already. So one time he said, you know, I'm going to Romania. When I'll come back, don't worry, it was busy. You know, he liked what I did. I mean, I did good work. So he said, when I'll come back, you'll get a raise. He came back and calls me in, and he said, I'll give you 5%. So I say, no, it's not enough. So I said, you know what, don't give me nothing. Because it's 5%. I said, don't give me nothing. And I stayed another year like this. And then I said one day,
Goodbye.
that's it. I said, I want to go on unemployment. He agreed, he said, okay. But he wanted I should leave already because, you know, my work was more a seasonal work. He told me a few times, he said, you know what, work only in the season. When it's busy, you know, and when it's not busy, you know, there is other work, but it's not so important. So one day I quit, and that's all. Since then I'm not working. This was when you were bar mitzvah. When it was your bar mitzvah, and that Shabbos, what date was it?
I don't remember the date.
Which year? That's why I know that when it was your bar mitzvah, I came
94.
back. I came back from the bar mitzvah. Monday I said I said to the supervisor, I want to talk to Gary. Gary was the name of the boss. He was the son, but he was the boss there. I want to talk to Gary. So it took till Wednesday that he called me in, and this was it. So that's how I know when I stopped working. You know, this I can't. You're going to be 26, so 13 years, so it's...
94.
So you're going to be 13, it's going to be 13 years now that I'm not working. And Zaidi still worked till about 6 years ago. Zaidi was already, when he stopped working, he was already 77 years old. Then he stopped also. Also, he had also a fight with the boss. And I said, it's enough, quit already, it's enough. So
I didn't have a fight with my boss.
we lived hard times all over, but we lived a nice life and we were very happy together. And we said that in Swansea we should be so happy and have a lot of nachas from our children. We should live and see yet more great-grandchildren for you and by Michal, and we should live and see the Boyrale get married and all the others. Kids, and that's all. I'm not complaining. We should be healthy. We have to thank God for what to live. I'm not, you know, no problem. And maybe we'll live, we're going to be healthy. We're still going to live to see a bar mitzvah by Iten. I hope.
You will.
Okay, that's it, Itaiki. I have nothing more to say. I think I could sit yet a whole night and talk, but I have no strength anymore.
I have just a couple of questions.
Yes.
One is, why did you decide to go to Israel? When you went to Israel?
In 1949, you know, when it was communist, it turned over, Czechia turned over to communist, and, you know, we were afraid to live there, and it was, you know, we were very unhappy when we came to Israel. Even we wanted to go back, Zaidi even wanted to go back to register, to go back.
I went to register.
You didn't go, you wanted to go. There was one person who went and registered and went back. I never know what happened to him. What we knew, a family. It was a
and
family
so most of
incident.
the people from the towns where you were living in, they ended up coming to Israel or America? They all left because of the communists?
Most of it.
Most of them. You mean from Czechia? They came from all over.
It was a mistake.
And from Israel.
It was a mistake, but the Jews from the town left.
They don't see you, let me talk. The people came, the most from Bedevla are in Israel. Nobody's here besides me, and maybe it's another guy, but I don't know where he is. There was a woman who lived till 98. She passed away this winter, and she was, you know, I always went to see her to the home because she was from our town. She married to Bedevla. Her husband was from Bedevla. But I knew her since I was a little girl. I mean, she was that time still a young woman. She lost all her children, but she survived and her husband survived. And they had another son after the war. Also, he is like Gittel's age, 94. He was born in Germany in 1947. He lives also not far from us. So she passed away this winter, and she was all, you know, the mind was working. I went to see her, it was 2 months before she died. She still recognized me, and if I told her, Blime, you know who I am? He said, was Meister, bist du nicht ganz ausgewebt? What do you think? I'm already out of my mind. I don't recognize you. He knew where my father was. She told me who my grandfather was. And she knew everything. And she was so happy when we came to see her.
But
Bedevla aren't here anymore. Nobody. I don't
just
know.
not just Bedevla, just maybe you don't know, but there was. You talked about going to all these different towns, and all these Jews were coming back to their places or moving around. The Rebbe was back. The Visions Rebbe was there immediately after the war.
That was in Czechia.
Okay, and then there were minyanim, and there were people going to shul on Shabbos. But then it was because of the communists that everybody left. That's what.
Czechia, yeah, the Jewish people left because of the communists. The Jewish people from Czechia, if it would not be communist, we would not leave either.
Yeah, no.
Not that time, maybe later, yes, but I would not leave because it was very good in Czechia.
I have a good panusa.
He had a very good store and we lived very nice in Czechia.
And then also...
When we came to Israel, it was a very hard time comparing how what we had in Czechia. We left because of the communists. We were afraid because, you know, Zaidi did things what he wasn't allowed to do. And I told you, I was afraid. Every time he had a whistle, a sign that nobody's in the house looking for him.
And when you...
It was stupidity. It was a stupid idea.
Even when I was in train already, from Prague going away till we went through the border, I was always afraid. My heart was pounding. We should go through the border already. They shouldn't come looking for him because he had to give over, you know, a store. And it was his store, but it was like a government thing. It wasn't belonged to the government. And he gave it over, everything with profit, with money. It was no problem, but still I was afraid. Because it happened many times. People went away and they brought them back from the way already.
Okay. And also when you made the decision to come to America after living in Israel, you said you weren't sure, but why did you come? Just because of Zaidi's family?
I don't know why I came, because they took him to the army every Monday and Tuesday. He was every time in the army, and I was left with the meshek, and I couldn't handle it myself. I needed all right people helped me, and it was already too much. That's why the reason. Not we didn't need it. When I came here, we were very unhappy. And Zaidi always said, he always told me I should let him go by himself, because Laichu came by herself, and then Yankel came later with the children. He wanted to go by himself, and I said, you're not going by yourself. Are we going together, or are we not going? The Zaida always had to tarnish to me that I didn't want to go to Israel. We could have go to America. We could have go from Czechia to America. We had papers, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. I said, I'm not going to America. I'm going to Israel.
And so it's the army that really bothered you?
Yeah.
How many times was he taken to the army each year?
Each year, and if something happened, always was something in Israel. So right away they knocked in the window, Schleimer, stay off. This was more scary. This didn't bother me so much. Every year, Miluim, he went for 3 weeks. But it bothered me when something happened. You know, when it was the Sinai thing in 1956, he was 3 weeks away, and I didn't know where he is. I had no letter from him, nothing. I didn't know if he's alive, if he's not alive. He was about the Suez Canal. This got into me.
It was stupidity.
Maybe it's not right, but you know, this is how I am. I was very nervous, and yeah, it got my nerves also. Maybe that's why I was so always had problems with my nerves, because of that. I was always afraid. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with 2 children? What am I going to do?
Anything else you want to say?
I said already what I had to say. God should just help us. We should be healthy. Shouldn't get worse than it is. And we should have nachas from our children. We should see a lot of happiness for them. That's all what I want. Nothing else. Thank God we have from what to live. I have what I need. There's no problem with that. And that's all. We can't go. One thing, I'm sorry, we can't go anymore no place. I would have go this summer to Czechia. I would have go to Karlsbad again, but I am afraid to go. I'm not afraid to go because I'm afraid to go to Czechia. I'm afraid to go. God forbid something could happen in our age then. And also to Israel. I said when I came back now, I said to Zaidi, I'm not renewing my passport anymore because I'm not going anymore. So he said, you're going to renew it. So I'm going to renew it. But if I'm going to use it, I don't know. Because it's not easy. I'm nervous there. He didn't feel good this time. And I'm a nervous wreck. I'm happy when I'm coming home. You know, I feel more secure, more safe when I'm home.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Itaiki.
I'll close it now.